Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Fort Lauderdale City Commission Conference meeting. This is March 23rd, 2023. Thank you all for being here today. We seem to have a pretty quiet agenda, but maybe we can change that. Let me get to the agenda. Okay, we don't have any communications, so why don't we just jump right to CF1, which is Community Redevelopment Agency Report on the Northwest Progresso Flagler Heights CRA. Is Clarence here? There he is, just in time.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Honorable Mayor and Commissioners. We're going to talk about some of the projects that are taking place in the CRA and their progress. We also want to give you awareness that there's an update on Exhibit 2 and Exhibit 1 with dates, and just wanted to make sure that you're aware of those. And also want to hear your feedback on perhaps some of the, at the end, what else can we do, or as far as provide or get policy that can help improve performance from some of these projects?
Well, there's one, I noticed on the list, there's one project in particular that's of concern. It seems that it's just been languishing out there, and it's been holding up a significant amount of funds. But we'll get to that after Clarence gives his report, I guess.
Good afternoon, Commissioner, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners.
Did you get new glasses?
Yeah, I think these are a little
Pretty
different.
cool, okay.
Well, the report is, as the manager stated, what's actually found in the exhibits. This is supposed to be in response to Commissioner Beasley Pittman's request to understand exactly what the community benefits or the hiring policies that we have in our redevelopment projects. So that first exhibit basically shows you all of the projects that are over $1 million and what the community benefits or the hiring policies are in those agreements. The second exhibit is just the regular monthly status report where we show all of the projects and where they are at this point in time in the development process.
Okay, so to that point, Commissioner Beasley Pittman, have you had a chance to review Exhibit 1? Do you have any questions with regard to it?
Push the red button, right?
Yeah.
No, I haven't had an opportunity to review the document in its entirety, just getting back from Tallahassee. So I haven't looked over this, but I would, of course, look over it and bring back additional questions if need be.
Okay. That's as to Exhibit 1. Let's talk about Exhibit 2.
Okay.
So we see one really standout situation with regard to the Comfort Suites Hotel.
Yes.
And that has been languishing for a very long time. So talk to us about that.
So the long and short of it, within the agreement, Comfort Suites has until June of this year to finalize all of their financing, and a month afterwards to go ahead and break ground. We've been in contact with them. They are close to finalizing all of their permits. They've gone out and had their pricing on, the project, what it's actually going to cost. They said they had 3 different bids. So their plans are substantially complete. They're just working out some issues with respect to their permitting, and we believe that they will be starting construction sometime within the next quarter.
So why does it take 4 years, to get permitting accomplished? And I don't want to say it's because of our permit department. I mean, there's something going on here.
Yes.
And what concerns me, if they're now just going for financing in an environment in which is not finance friendly, is this really going to happen?
So we had the same questions, and this was one of the projects that we had targeted to potentially have the funding withdrawn around September. But we've been in contact with them, and they assure us that they are fully committed to the project. They've spent $1.5 million up until this point. As we have been, in this process, they've given a number of different reasons as to why it has languished, and all of which, seem plausible. But at this point, they have a drop, and this is per the development agreement. They have to have their financing by June 6th. And we really can end it before September. But they'll have to have their financing all finalized by June, and then a month afterwards they need to start with vertical construction.
The thing is, we would love to see a hotel there. That's the thing. So, do you have any thoughts, Commissioner Beasley Pittman, on this? I think this is your district, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
With the conversations you've been having with them, are they on schedule? Are they going to make this June 6th deadline?
Well, so we didn't just take their word for it.
Okay.
We reached out to our friends over at DSD. Al Battle has given us, the lowdown on where they actually are. And they have had all of the disciplines to review their permits. Again, I don't know exactly what it is or what it's going to take to actually get it out of the permitting department, but they have indicated that they're there, they're close, and they will be able to meet that June deadline. So at this point, I think another 3 months may be worth waiting, because the hotel does provide a significant number of jobs, albeit, jobs in the service industry, but those are still jobs that they've committed to making sure residents have those jobs, so.
If they don't meet the deadline,
We're pulling
pull it?
the money back.
Okay, the money is pulled, and then we begin taking other opportunities for the land.
I'm sorry, say that again?
We would pull back the opportunity, the funds,
Yes,
and then it'd be open to other opportunities for someone to
Yes.
come forward.
yes.
And it's been 4 years?
It's been just about.
Well, it says May of 21st of 2019, so that's 4 years.
Yeah.
It seems longer though, but anyway.
And they give reasons like COVID. I personally
think Jack
believe-
Silo was mayor when we did this.
No.
Seriously.
No.
No? Okay.
I wasn't here when
All right.
Mr. Seiler was mayor.
Okay, so with 3 months, we will definitely know
We'll know in 3 months.
where
Yes.
we can go. So
Yes, we will know that we have a solid project and it is moving forward.
Okay.
Again, I don't think you would spend that type of money and not in earnest look to try to get this project over the finish line.
Okay, so I'm comfortable with staying the course for the 3
Okay.
months.
What about some of these other ones, like really old? We have Rhythm 2.0 back in 2019.
They're
beginning-
under construction right
They're
now.
under construction. Okay, that's a build out, correct?
Yes.
And Junie's restaurant,
Almost finished.
almost finished. That's good. Looking forward to that. What about? Okay, that was just started. Okay. All right. Anyone else have any questions? Commissioner Herbst, do you have any thoughts or questions regard to this?
Not at this point, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Glassman
I'm good, thank you.
and Vice Mayor.
Fine.
All right. Okay. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Moving on to business one, city-sponsored events, second quarter. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. So in addition to this CAM, we also provided an additional memo to everyone to allow you to see the frequency of the events and also the total value of each program in a table format. And we also provided also the list of events that was approved at the last budget cycle, which is the current budget cycle. So we wanted to provide an opportunity before we have these events, a list of the events and their associated budgets and the schedule, just to hear any feedback or any requests or any requests for changes or upgrades for the events that are programmed and planned.
So did everyone get that supplemental memo? Because I had requested the city manager to be a little bit more clear on, like, for example, the first one, sips, sounds, and splats, says District 4, 2,000 per event. Well, I want to know how many events there were and how much money we're committing. Did you email it to us? Okay.
We did, yes.
For some reason, I overlooked it. Okay.
Yes.
Did everyone get a copy of that?
Yes.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yesterday.
And I
Okay,
have.
yesterday it was? Okay. So I wanted everyone to see what the actual cost is for each one of these events. Anyone have any questions with regard to them?
I do. I would like to
Yes,
start
please,
this
go ahead.
conversation. When I first saw the breakdown and the funds that were allocated for the events, I had questions because I was displeased with the funds that were allocated when I looked at the applications. And what I was comparing that gave me some concerns was the first one, Sip, Sounds, and Splash. It's an event that shows it has 50 to 70 people who are attending the event.
50 to 70? Yeah.
50 to 70. So there's a amount giving of $2,000. And then when I looked at the Carter Park Jams event, it is an event that has 700 plus up to the thousands event, and you get 4,000. So my immediate question was, well, what is the calculation? How did we get to these figures? And it seemed very underfunded. It needs to have, we need a policy, I believe. I don't know, I wasn't given an answer how these dollar amounts were actually attached to each one of the events. And it appears some of the events that I'm, for my district, there are less fundings going towards them. So if we could figure out how we got to these dollars amount, put a policy in place that we all can agree upon, whereas, it's according to the event and not just, oh, by the way, we'll give this one 4 or we'll give that one 2.
It's a fair question. Certainly, if we're getting several hundred at the Carter Park Jams event, we could certainly apply more funds. Phil, you want to come up here and talk to us?
And as Phil is coming, even as we go back to some of the funding for some of the other events that have already occurred, looking at the Kwanzaa event, that's a well-funded, attended event, and it only got $1,000. So just trying to figure out how we are tagging the dollar amount to the event.
You have any thoughts on that? You want to?
Yeah, good afternoon, Phil Thornburg. So there's a lot of things that go into it. As the commissioner mentioned, we look at attendance, we look at how long the event's taken place. The Sip, Sounds, and Splats, for example, is a new event that we're trying to take off at Southside School for the cultural part of the department. So that's a new one that we've started, and the attendance is not as high as the Carter Park one, but I would say that it's growing, and I'd also say that the Carter Park one has grown as well. So I think, we reevaluate these every year and decide whether we should keep going, whether we need to put more money towards it or reduce it. And I would say if the Sip, Sounds, and Splats, for example, does not continue to grow or doesn't show the need, then we can reduce that or eliminate it. And the same with Carter Park or anything else, we can put more money towards the different events. So when this list came out, as Commission may remember, we were asked to reduce our expenditures by about $1 million this year. So all these events came to you with a reduced amount of money. It was in the budget, and it was listed out by every event and how much was going to be allocated at that. So what staff's done with those numbers, what we did at the time, and then what we're doing now is trying to figure out what we can do with the money that's been allocated. The other challenge we have is the sound and light company that was just awarded, and those prices have gone up about 20%. So not only are we dealing with less dollars for the event itself, we also are dealing with the increase in not only the operation of it, but also the talent has gone up as well. So we're doing the best we can with the money that's allocated for every event, understanding that prices are going up, and it was just a staff decision, and I was the ultimate decision maker when we made it to the city manager and it came to the commission.
So how do we, as a commission, what do we do? Because it's obvious that these events need more funding. So to the commission, I'm asking if we could work on a policy that would increase the funding for these events. Because I'm not trying to say that one event is more valuable than the other, but what I am saying is the money should be there and represent the event and the community. If they're coming out, they should get a premium event. And they shouldn't have to say, well, I live in one part of the city is funding at tens of thousands, and I come in my neighborhood and I'm only getting barely 5,000. So how do we approach that for?
So
for
Commissioner,
districts?
I can say that all the events were reduced going into this year. So we had to make those tough decisions going into this year. And I'll also agree with you, it has been a challenge to continue at the level. Well, we cannot continue at the level we had done in the past, understanding that the expenditures were reduced. So I know we've talked about this before, and I'm with you that we can't maintain the level of events we've done in the past with the current funding.
Well, Phil, and also Commissioner Beasley Pittman, I believe that maybe we have this discussion when we start really looking at our joint meetings with the Budget Advisory Board, because City Manager, correct me if I'm wrong, but these numbers are determined when we set the budget for the fiscal year, correct?
Yes, we present these numbers at the budget development time.
Right, so Commissioner, maybe that's the time we need to start having these conversations, how they're figuring, what they're recommending, and also, because we do set the budget, so this was set for for this fiscal year. This has already been approved by the commission and was set for this current fiscal year. So we'd have to, I think, address this as it comes forward when we start having those meetings.
Well, she wasn't a commissioner at that time,
Right.
so.
Correct.
So, but to answer your question, yes, the next go-around, the commission will set those priorities.
Okay.
Yeah. But the thing is, like Relay for Life site plan and Relay for Life application, my application is completely blank.
Yes, so it's fine.
So I don't understand, how can we make comparisons? Like, for example, we're going to give 10,000 to Relay for Life, but how many participants are there? There's nothing here to kind of help us respond to what Commissioner Beasley Pittman is talking about. We're trying to make comparisons here, and definitely the next go-around will be more respectful of the attendance and vis-a-vis the expenditure. But like, as we were talking, I was just going to some of these other events, and there's no information whatsoever on Relay for Life.
Why is that, Phil?
I don't know. I mean,
Was it invisible ink?
when I reviewed it, when I was going through Granicus to approve them online, everything was there on all the applications. So I'm not for sure
All right.
what may have happened.
But
On
there
my
is-
copy, there is, on the online copy, there is.
Yeah, there is some information, Mayor. It does have anywhere between 250 to 500 people expected.
Where do you see the information?
It's not, oh, I have it printed out, I'm sorry.
Because this is completely blank.
Maybe you're looking, maybe there was something updated. It's at Carter Park, it's a District 3 event for $10,000.
Right, so how much does it say in terms of the participants?
It's, well, again, I don't know when the applicant fills these out, I don't know what the exact numbers are. They're filling this out and saying between the numbers, but do we actually have verified numbers for all these events?
So these are our internal events, so the applications are filled out by our staff.
So it
these-
says, Mayor, it says expected sustained attendance 250 and maximum attendance 500.
Okay, and that we've allocated $10,000 for?
$10,000.
Okay. All right.
And also, while we're talking about this, for the Carter Park Jams and the summer jams that's coming up for this year, there's more funding needed. How do we address that today? Because I need more funding for the events.
Well, we'd have to take it from some other event, right? I mean, this is your budget, and you've parsed out the budget monies for each event. So if we wanted to add to another event, we'd have to take it from another event. He only has so much to work with. We didn't increase his budget, unless you want to increase his budget.
Well, last commission meeting, I didn't understand how we passed the motion for entertainment for additional $115,000 for the entertainment for 4th of July. What budget did that come out of?
Was that part of the budget?
It was.
Yes.
So just to add clarity, so the last approval was an approval for us to procure and use money out of the 400,000
Right.
for entertainment. Now, what I believe is you're proposing, Commissioner Beasley Pittman, is an increase for some of these events. And we can certainly do that. What we can do is, because there is time between this event, there is time between this meeting and when the event will take place. If you'd like, we can just focus on what is it additional that you would like, and we can bring back to the City Commission how we can make those adjustments, and you all can provide the approval on
Okay.
the increase.
Okay.
That's fair.
That's what we need to do. So yes, we'll work together to make that happen, because the funding is really low to make the event at the level that it should be.
Agreed.
Which events are we talking about
Talking
specifically?
about the Carter Park Jams and also for the summer jams.
I see Carter Park. I think that's in our backup, right?
Yeah, the summer one is not here.
Summer Jams is not, and that was a whole issue in
Yeah,
and of
that's for
itself.
the next quarter.
Okay.
But just knowing that as well. And also, with the Carter Park Jams, one event was eliminated. We would usually have one in March, and it's been taken off, it was taken off of the calendar. So even with that, I was hoping to, in June, if we could have one in June to replace the one that was removed from March.
So you're correct, Commissioner, we had to reduce by one event, but we are trying to add another one, understanding, again, the cost. If we can get back to the 5, then we will be able to add another event. But it's again, our staff is working as hard as they can, and we've had to make some reductions to try to keep within our budgets. But I will say that the summer jams, what's proposed for this year is $100,000. So that one's not on this list, but it's in the budget for $100,000 as we move forward.
Okay, all right, so we'll come back because that would need additional funding to do what we're used to with that event, that signature event as well for the community and for the city, not just for
Right.
District 3. These are all city events. So if we are the great city of Fort Lauderdale, let's do what we do, put on great entertainment for our neighbors.
Agreed. Is this the one that was in Mills Pond last year?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one that got out of hand. So,
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that.
well,
Well, I
it
would.
exceeded-
I
well,
would.
no,
I would say it got out.
no,
of
when I
hand.
say it got out of hand, it exceeded the budget. So,
But it was a quality event
I'm
for
sure it
the
was.
city. And
You
it's
can
no
get a lot
different
for
than-
$500,000. You can get a
Well,
lot.
we've got a lot of other events for $500,000, so it's not unique.
Okay.
It's not unique.
Okay, any other questions of Mr. Thornburg? Okay.
So we will work with the commissioner,
Yes.
come
Thank
back
you.
with some items, and also work to develop a policy plan for you all to adopt.
Very good.
And I would like to say, Phil, thank you. I know you all are working diligently to answer the questions I have, and also make the events to be continuously perfect and exciting for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And one final comment. I'm hoping next year there's something about District 1 on the list. There's a gaping hole for District 1 on the list of events. So
Commissioner, you
I'm
gotta
hoping
get it
we'll work on
together.
some-
It's just a quarter.
I'm
Commissioner, it's
hoping
just
we
a
can
quarter.
work together to get something for District 1 for next year. Thank you.
So, Commissioner, I will say that your previous commissioner mentioned that as well, and one that we did add last year was the pre-Labor Day event that takes place up in the Galt area, but understanding that that was her concern as well.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. There's a scarcity of events. There are residents in District 1 as well.
There's spring
Noted.
fling.
But this is just for the next quarter, so maybe it's after these 3 months. This is just for 3 months, Commissioner.
So there's going to be a multitude in the next quarter. I look forward to it.
Yes. I do too.
Okay. All right, business 2. Thank you, Phil. Communication strategies and practices. Oh, look at this. Thank you.
Thank you.
The first page is blank. We are. Congratulations on the new magazine. I saw it yesterday.
Thank you. That was, I'm obviously very proud, but can't take all the credit, and it's an incredible team. Okay.
Clicker.
Yeah, oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay.
Is there a message that's subliminally hidden in this slide?
Yes.
There it is.
That was huge.
Okay.
Very nice.
Thank you. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. This is the Strategic Communications Team. I wanted to give you just a little bit of a taste of what we do, and that just scratches the surface. We have, oh. You don't need to see it again. I want to introduce you to our team. They are joining us today. I'll start with Claudio Obasia. He is our webmaster. Please stand, wave the commission. Sophia Ali, a senior specialist. Newest member of the team, Jordan Blanco, is an administrative assistant. Arlene Bornstein, you've seen her face on all of our videos. Brady Dulander, senior specialist. Diana Diaz, senior specialist. Brenda Nieto, creative services. Anthea Thomas, specialist, social media. And Joshua Smith, who's not present, he's a specialist and does all of our beautiful graphic design, incredibly talented. So this is the StratCom team. Yeah, thank you guys for everything you do.
You make us look good.
Yes. So, let's see.
Well, first of all, I think it's amazing that we've been able to create a team like this because years ago we had one person, 2 people, and I don't think it befit the quality of a community that we became. And you certainly have brought it to the level what I think really reflects who we are today as Fort Lauderdale. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And the team does incredible work. I'm very lucky. I want to talk about today what we do as an office, how we support the commission and the city. These are the services that we provide. We do public outreach and marketing. We provide special events, logistics, and put those on. We do media relations, branding, graphic design, social media, video production, and internal communications to city employees and external communications to our stakeholders and neighbors. Let's see. The current methods that we use, one of the main ones is our city website. This past February, we had 120,000 visits just that month alone. We have our email distribution list, which currently has about 43,500 subscribers. Our social media pages are growing exponentially month by month. We have 111,000 followers. In the last 6 months alone, we have gotten 5.7 million impressions from posts that we have done on our social media pages. That means that our content has showed up in the feeds of our neighbors and beyond 5.7 million times in the last 6 months. We've also exponentially grown our video content. Our videos have been viewed 776,000 times in the last 6 months. We also do physical graphic design for digital and for flyers, banners, posters. Our graphic designer averages 65 campaigns a month, and that's individual campaigns, which can include the different designs for digital, for physical flyers, for banners. That means thousands of different designs every year. We also do direct mail postcards. We recently did a campaign for the tidal barrier ordinance that you all will be voting on this evening. We mailed 8,000 postcards to waterfront properties in the city of Fort Lauderdale to educate those property owners about the seawall requirements and the ordinance that was going to be coming before you.
There's a lot of misinformation out there, and when I go to these neighborhood meetings, everyone is like very upset, and when they find out the real information,
Yes.
they make, so thank you for doing that, because
Yes.
it's become a.
And our team also did a video explaining to people, because we know there's misinformation, explaining to people flat out that, will I have to raise my seawall? The answer is probably not. And we spelled that out in the video that we shared.
Well, not now. Probably not now.
Probably not now, yes.
Right.
Not today.
Not today, right.
Today.
Yes. We produce ads for TV, radio, digital, print media. We hold the contract with Go Riverwalk magazine. Each month, we get 2 full-page ads that we use to promote city events, and we have an article for commissioners once a month on a rotating basis. And we also do media relations and work to get placements for city services and provide correct information to the media on everything that's going on. Let's see. Examples of frequent communications that we send out. We do a lot of city event promotion in conjunction with Parks and Rec to promote all of the great events that they put on. We issue traffic advisories. We issue project outreach and updates, anything that's happening, Hendricks Isle seawall, or the Las Olas Isles undergrounding project, anything that neighbors would need to know about what's happening in their area. If there's a public works project, a traffic project, anything like that, we're sending outreach. Lauder briefs. We give the community updates on what you all decide on the dais in every commission meeting. And then city initiative outreach. And I'm going to pass it over to our.
Talk a little bit about
Okay, all right. So today, I'm pleased to say that we have launched our brand new digital and soon-to-be print magazine, FTL Connect. You were all given a sneak peek last night. This 24-page magazine is also going to be mailed directly to every home in the city of Fort Lauderdale. That is 99,300 copies delivered directly to our residents to make sure that they are getting the information directly from us about what's happening in the city. We also recently utilized telephone town hall meetings. That is, we used that for the water treatment facility to make sure that everyone was getting correct information. They could get their questions answered if they had any about the water treatment facility.
So we used to have telephone town hall meetings with each member of this commission. Remember, like I would do it 1 month, District 1 would do it another month, District and so forth, and we would rotate every month. Whatever happened to that practice? I guess we just discontinued it. I don't.
So Mayor, if I may, so I remember that during COVID, there were some telephone town halls.
Right.
Under an emergency order, you can call every number. And that is one of the ways the methods that were used to make sure
they used to
that
call in. I mean,
yes, people can call in but we did a robocall out. But just
we did a robocall out.
we did a robocall out just to provide information to everyone about what was taking place.
Right.
And we also used it under the King Tide. But please realize that was under an emergency order, so we were able to use.
No, this was during Lee Feldman started the practice. This was like several years. I mean, it's like 6 or 7 years ago. I remember sitting, in the city manager's office and I don't know. I thought it was helpful, but I mean, we don't have to continue it. I don't know if anyone on the commission has any interest in that, but what it would be was we had a facilitator who we hired, and the facilitator, it was a 1-hour program, and each member of the commission would sit there for an hour, take questions from the community, and we'd also put out announcements regarding what's going on in the city. So something to think about. I'm not saying we have to do it, but I remember that was a practice that I thought was helpful. Steve, were you a commissioner at that time?
Yes, I did it during COVID.
It was just during
But
COVID?
I think I did 1 or 2 maybe, yes. But it was during COVID.
Okay, all right.
Well, that's the type of feedback we'd like to hear today. Programs that perhaps you'd like to do more of, because we do believe that misinformation hinders us in the ability to perhaps bring projects along, or at least making sure that everyone has the right information and has access to the information. So again, I'm going to leave it back to Ashley so she can talk more about these.
Okay.
Then I'll jump in.
Sorry to interrupt.
So the telephone town hall meeting that we did for the water treatment facility, we did a call out and we connected with 19,582 people. That was a really successful, I think, way to make sure that we were getting information to people who don't follow us on social media, who hadn't been paying attention to what was happening in the news, that kind of stuff. The major projects webpage that we have set up, it currently has 10 projects. We do plan to expand that to other major projects, and this platform also has the ability to add community engagement additions to it, so we can ask for feedback from the community and see what they have to say about them.
This 24K that's here, that's the annual?
That is an annual fee for the website, yes, but as of now, we're not using its full capacity. We plan to add additional projects. This website includes not only the details, the scope, the timeline. It also includes documentation, the comprehensive agreements, any exhibits that were included, and in the future will be used for more community engagement and feedback.
I just wanted to share that these are new methods this year. They were not budgeted. However, what we did was we looked at certain expenditures that perhaps weren't used for StratComs and reappropriated to do these efforts. But we wanted to also share that, for instance, FTL Connect took over the monthly Lauder tracks. So previously we would do Lauder tracks, and we found through the metrics that a lot of people perhaps weren't accessing it. So we now produce, or StratComs produces content that goes to every home, and so that everyone has the same level of access and the same information as well. And also through this through the new magazine that will be via print available. It will have QR codes that goes back to digital content, digital information that can expand upon the information that's already shared. So again, this is helping others reach the information and even delve more into the information that's available. But just wanted to give you the price tag of some of these methods, and we find that it's very good use of money because of the reach that the outcomes provide.
Okay, so in addition to those outreach methods, we also provide commission support in doing event planning and coordination for ribbon cuttings, groundbreakings, special events. We have the Citizens Committee of Recognition Awards coming up in May, Community Appearance Board, Walk of Fame, things like that. For city-sponsored events, we provide support by doing speaking points, providing a run of show, logistics, things like that. And keeping in mind that if something is not a city-sponsored event, we do our best to try to accommodate, to try to gain the information. Sometimes there are events that you all are invited to that we are not made aware of. But if you reach out to us, we'll be happy to coordinate with the organizers and find out information for you. We also facilitate the Go Riverwalk columns every month. That's on a rotating basis, one per month. I believe it's Commissioner Herbst's turn up next. And then we provide support by doing proclamations and expressions of sympathy with the understanding that those are approved through the mayor's office because he signs them as an official document. So pass it back on.
So I want to talk a little bit about the responsibilities that StratComs does versus some of those that the commission offices do. So on the left side, we have what StratCom produces. And these are responsibilities such as, on behalf of the city, providing messaging, on behalf of the city also providing graphic design, videos that promote the city specifically, and also sharing progress on the initiatives that you all approve at the beginning of the fiscal year. They also maintain the city's website and also maintain official social media web pages as well. So these are things that are for the city. They are neutral value added information. Now, I want to talk a little bit about on the right, the commission offices. So in 2019, the commission approved an additional commission assistant that was added to the budget for purposes of improving outreach to the different sectors of the city. And so the workflow that StratCom follows is that they provide content, and then commission offices disseminates, can even modify and then provide very specific narrated content on the voice of each elected official for those communities. So for instance, if StratCom produces a lot of briefs, the commission offices can take those lot of briefs and also add additional content that may provide additional information that will be very specific to each district. The daily media summaries or even the social media posts that StratComs produces can be also reshared by each of the district offices and the mayor's office as well. So this is the line of distinction that StratComs operates under. And again, we want to make sure that the messaging that's produced by this team is neutral value added information. The content on the right is produced by the commission offices, and they can speak on behalf of the elected official and the communities that they represent themselves. So I also want to highlight protocol and policy. So we reference the charter under section 4.04, and you will see that the mayor in a lot of the content, or in all the content, is a city official. We base that based on the charter that says that he or she shall be recognized as the official head of the city by the public in general for all ceremonial purposes. And so for publications that we produce on behalf of the city, this is the role that the mayor plays, and that is why also the mayor signs the proclamations and expressions of sympathy on behalf of the city. So this was a bit of an overview for what the strategic communications team follows as best practice, as a protocol, and wanted to now open it up to any questions or any feedback from you all so that we can gain that direction.
I have a
Commissioner Hurd?
question.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I was just going to go down the line.
Oh, well, I
Commissioner
can
Hurd, do you have
wait.
any
We'll do that
comments you'd
way.
like to make?
So I did have one question about that, and maybe this is to the city attorney's office. So just curious what ceremonial purposes means. Is there an actual definition of ceremonial purposes? Because I always understood that to be signing of proclamations and things of that nature. Is there more that's covered under ceremonial purposes for the mayor's office?
There isn't a definition provided in the charter for ceremonial purposes, so the typical way of interpreting it would be to rely on the common use of ceremonial.
Okay. Reason I was asking is, and we had this conversation, the city manager and I. No disrespect to you, Mayor. I was just kind of curious about this. So your minute with the mayor, for example, which I think is very well done, I was wondering if that's something that's afforded to all of us, and the city manager replied that it's to the mayor as a ceremonial purpose, and I didn't understand that to be a ceremonial purpose.
I think it should be rotated. I think every commissioner should have that opportunity to do a minute with the commissioner, a minute with the mayor. That's something we just started, actually, right?
Right.
And I think it's a good opportunity for every commissioner, member of the commission, to be able to participate in something. like
And that was
I
kind
agree with you.
of my intention with that, is I think that should be an opportunity available.
It's
to-
tiresome to do it every time.
I'm sure it is. It is.
I know, they're always chasing me down to get it done. I'm sorry. I'm happy to shoulder that burden.
Mayor, maybe you could do 30 seconds with the mayor.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
It'd be half the burden.
So we can certainly take that as direction, that we can rotate it, even follow the Riverwalk rotation schedule.
Okay, good. Thank you. Commissioner Beasley Pitt.
The question I have is, understanding that this was already in place and there's more funds have been added to it, what is what was the amount spent previous, and what is the current funding going towards this overall?
You mean the different publications?
Just
You wanna
for
go-
the year,
Can we go back to this slide?
because I saw the individual ones, so I'm trying to understand what was paid last year for
Some of these are
Stratcom.
new. Some of these weren't last year.
Okay,
These are all
understanding
Yes,
that,
ma'am.
so
Like the
what's the
magazine.
increase, right?
Like the magazine would be brand new.
So, yes, ma'am. We used salary savings to pay for the publication of this issue of the magazine this year because it was a non-budgeted expense. For the telephone town hall meeting, that money was charged to Public Works because that was an outreach that we did on behalf of the Public Works Department for the water treatment facility. And then the major projects webpage, that money did come out of my budget for, we just kind of, I was able to kind of scrape together the amount to find the funding for that one. But you know, we do have some salary savings in the office. I want to point out that we put the magazine together with no additional staff or no additional outside resources. That was this team sitting right here. And I would love to add additional staffing and resources to get that done. My budget for advertising and marketing for the entire year is $65,000, so I have to be very judicious with how I utilize that. But if you want to throw some more money our way, we'll be happy to use it.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Yes.
Are any of these things income producing? Specifically the Fort Lauderdale Connect, do we sell ads in
No.
that or not?
No, we don't produce any revenue for the city.
Okay, there's no thought that you might want to do that?
So you brought up a good point, because what some municipalities do to offset these costs, and a good portion, 50% of that is postage. A good portion of these costs are paid by sponsors. And so some municipalities have ongoing contracts with sponsors that support payment for the production of these publications. If it is a desire to the commission to look at sponsors for co-sponsoring the publication, we can certainly look at that. But I'd like to receive that direction from the commission.
Only concern I would have that is folks that would be inclined to sponsor would probably be vendors. And it just worries me from a conflict of interest
It
perspective.
looks like an endorsement of it.
Well, or that they'll feel obligated to, pay for play, that, they'll get work from the city if they contribute and sponsor things. So I think that's a slippery slope. I would probably suggest against it.
How about Go Riverwalk magazine? Do they sell ads or not?
Oh, yeah.
They
sell
do.
ads. What, you
They
mean you
do.
haven't read, you don't read Go Riverwalk?
Well, I do,
every
but I
month?
remember seeing ads there, but.
Yeah, it's filled with plenty of ads, yeah.
Yeah.
And plus, we subsidize it.
Right. And so we can look at policies from other cities on what they do in order to perhaps recruit sponsors that can support some of these expenditures. And we could bring that to you all for consideration.
Well, since the expense is 45,000, I'm not sure how much we really be gaining by selling ads, right?
Times 4.
Times 4, yeah.
We
I
would like to
understand.
do this 4 times a year.
Well, I mean, Commissioner Herbst does raise a good point. Unless we only accept ads from people who don't do business with the city, and that gets kind of dicey. You don't know when that would happen. I don't know. We can. I mean, I think your point is well taken. It helps save us money by selling ads. So why don't we think about that and see if we can come up with some kind of idea that we wouldn't put ourselves in a conflict of interest situation, but at the same time allow us to be able to receive money for the publication. All right.
I still don't think my question was answered. I'm trying to find out, I'll say year 2021, what was the overall cost for Stratcom? And then what is it now with the new additions? What dollar amount are we spending for the overall?
The overall annual budget for Stratcoms,
Yes.
I will have to look, but I believe with labor costs included, it's about 2.5 million.
That's current?
Current,
Do we know what it was in 2021?
it was the same.
It was the same, so there's no increase even with these amounts that are being shown?
No, because as I said, the FTL Connect magazine, we have currently have open positions we have not filled. So we have salary savings that we used for that magazine, and then the telephone town hall meeting was billed back to Public Works.
enterprise fund.
Enterprise fund.
Yeah.
So these are not costs that were factored into our budget.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, great. Thank you so much. Okay, now the juicy part, City Commission reports. So Commissioner Herbst, what happened in Tallahassee? I see you had made it back alive.
That was the accomplishment, yeah. So as a matter of fact, I landed about an hour before the meeting started today.
You're
So,
kidding.
Yeah, it was a little dicey. It
Were you
was
taking
fog.
Silver Airlines? But
It was American Airlines down to Miami, so everything
Oh, wow.
fortunately went well. But yeah, we were actually a little concerned because the airport was fogged in this morning, so it was half and half. But no, it was a very productive meeting. Had an opportunity to sit down with a number of the folks from the Senate and from the House up there. Probably the most productive meeting, I think, for me was meeting with Chip Lamarca, who's put money in the budget for the Galt Ocean Mile project. We've got a commitment from the Senate that they'll buy the project into their budget as well. And I spoke with the governor's chief of staff, and I've asked him to make sure that the governor doesn't write it out of the budget.
so how much money are we asking for that? Was it five?
We're asking for $500,000.
$500,000,
Right, and
500,000.
that'll support the money that the city manager restored back to that project, so that we now have matching dollars from the city towards the project, and we can move forward with the design phase. So we also talked about a number of other things, but just on a financial level, for my district at least, that was probably one of the important ones. On some other things that we've got going on, we're continuing to have discussions with Inter-Miami. I'm hoping those prove fruitful. I think we're getting to the point where we may actually not have to go through mediation. We've got the broad outlines of a deal, I think. So hopefully we'll be bringing something back in the not-too-distant future on that.
Great, great. Excellent. Commissioner Beasley Pittman.
Yes, I was,
What have you been doing?
I was in Tallahassee as well.
So
with John, but I made it back last night.
Okay.
I took the option to come back last night, but still fatigue. But I'm grateful for the opportunity. It was a
JetBlue,
great.
by the way, has promised that if the merger goes through, they'll have nonstop
Yeah,
from Fort
that was the
Lauderdale.
big talk all over Tallahassee.
We're all excitedly looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's the little bone they're going to throw us. I'm sorry, go ahead.
But yes, just to that experience was really
That was your first time, right?
First
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
great opportunity, and Daphne.
Interesting, right?
Yes.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Daphne Sanville, she did an amazing job with our packet that was submitted to representatives and our senators, and they really were impressed because Daphne was very clever because what she did, she made our magazine with the pages with our appropriations tear-outs. So everybody that we saw before, that's like, oh, I can just tear this out and put it in my pocket. That was the goal, and it was accepted. I had the pleasure of meeting with Representative Darrell Campbell, Rosalind Osgood, Senator Osgood, as well as Chip. I met with him. Also Representative Pizzo from the north end, south end rather. But it was very impressive. Patricia Williams as well, Representative Williams, and was able to just highlight those appropriations that we as a city are really pushing. And when we left, things were looking pretty good. They were on both sides of the house, so that was a good,
Did affordable housing come up in any of your conversations?
and a couple conversations
Yeah.
with what's being offered through the bills. They are really promoting, I forget the bill number, but they're really supporting that bill and hoping that will gain us more opportunity as a municipality to have a little bit more opportunity to push forward with more affordable housing. So we'll see how that works out. But education, of course, was one of the main things, one of those appropriations that we were definitely moving forward with. As John said, with God Off the Mile, we were doing that as well, and also with infrastructure. That was a conversation that we had with the majority of them. But it was a great opportunity. I really enjoyed it. Also, just to share about a couple of the things that those individuals who I had meetings with and had some opportunities to participate in a couple of things that was amazing over the last couple of days. Excuse me, I'm really still a little loopy from, and this is all energy. I'm not one who drinks. It really just drained my ability. I had a walk and talk. I had to walk and talk with one of the representatives that they was going to their meeting. So it's like, okay, we can talk, but you have to walk and talk with me. And this was like fast paced. I was doing this power walk, and I'm like, okay, this here, I need you to remember, let it go through. Don't let this die, please. So luckily, I didn't put on my cute shoes. I had on my walking shoes.
It was
So-
a lot like speed dating.
It was. It really was. Okay, time, next. Okay. But there's several things that I had the opportunity to do this month. I had a ride-along with our city manager that was in my district that we were both able, they shared some information with me that I wasn't fully aware of, and then I was able to share some things with city manager that was concerns to the district and to the residents overall. So we're really excited about that. Also, we had an opportunity to attend the Zeta Pi Beta sorority. They adopted a street in the district. I'm looking forward to working with them with that. It was a ribbon cutting on March the 11th, and they have made a pledge to the district to begin volunteering more, to be a face, and just being hands-on with our district, which this is, for me, I'm taking this street adoption as step one for them, because I have desires to pull in those fraternities and fraternities in our district and in the state and the city overall to be hands-on volunteering with education components, with entrepreneur opportunities. Our fraternities, we call them the Divine Nine. They do so much nationally. I want to bring them in to tap into what's going on locally. So with the Zetas, they were the first to reach out in that manner, where they're showing me that they want to work with us as a district and a city. Also, we had the opportunity to attend, the micro mover expansion into District 3. We did the ribbon cutting with that. I had the pleasure, the mayor, we were expecting you, but you had a last minute change, and we were able to go out and do even, Stratcom left, but they were there, they did video, and we were able to even post that on our website and on our social media, explaining to the citywide that we have this opportunity through Circuit for the free rides throughout District 3, in District 3, in the 6 Trunk Quarter area, going to 95 from 15th Avenue.
Isn't it
Yes,
great?
it's amazing. I was a fan of Circuit before I even took the oath. My husband and I would utilize it much, going to Las Solas. We would,
Right.
go and have a good evening, just getting that great free ride over. So that was a great opportunity. And also, NBC, is it 6-4? The news.
6.
6, thank you. NBC 6. I don't really watch the news, the television, so please forgive me. They did a short interview with us talking about the circuit, so that gave the city more advertisement with the Metro Move expansion. Okay. Also, we had an opportunity to, I'm just trying to go over some that's a little
Take your
bit,
time.
A little bit more detailed that I want to share.
Tallahassee can be dizzying. I know.
Yes. On March 16th, the grand opening at Broward Health Medical Center, I was able to stand with
The vice mayor?
Vice Mayor, yes, regarding the sterile taxi lab. That is amazing, the new technology that's been added here in our city, in our state. And I am correct, this is the only one in the state, correct, Vice Mayor?
You are correct.
Yes, and it's a new robotic equipment that does heart surgeries, and it's very impressive, and we should be proud as a city that we have this technology here in our city and the opportunity for greater health for our neighbors.
Does that robot mean that we can do away with all cardiologists?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Excuse me?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm going to speak for you, Vice Mayor.
Nothing
No.
personal, nothing personal.
He pushes it on autopilot and it operates on your heart.
But I was really vetting to be able to be hands-on and work the controls, but no, they didn't give me that opportunity. They said I had to come back another day and play with it. But that was a great opportunity.
That's pretty cool.
Yes.
That's pretty cool that we have.
Okay.
And that's just at Broward General?
It's for ablation, for arrhythmia. They use magnets to place the very tip of the catheter, so when they have to ablate an arrhythmia, instead of going by hand, the magnets go boom, 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 and it puts it exactly where it needs to go. It's
Wow.
incredible.
And this is at Broward General?
Yes.
Okay. So if I have a heart attack, I go to Broward General and not to Imperial Point or?
Yes.
Okay.
Also, on March 17th, I had an opportunity to sit with the Broward Workshop Urban Corridor. I was speaker for their monthly meeting. That was a great opportunity to sit with them. Great group of people.
Yes.
And willing to hear and understand what's going on, not only in the city, but also in my district. So that was a great opportunity. On the 19th, I attended a festival that celebrates Black voices. It was at this Rhythm by the River, right here at Esplanade Park, right? Yes, by Broward Performing Arts. Amazing event. This was the second year. I heard about it last year, but my time wasn't available. But this is an event. I don't know how much we as a city are involved in it, but
not.
I think it's something that we should consider. The Broward Performing Arts, they really have some great outreach into my district, the underserved District 3, and they're willing to work and offer more opportunities for not only District 3, but throughout the city. So I think we should have a great conversation with them to see what we can do to collaborate and make some opportunities for the youth of the city. They have great theater training and great theater possibilities for our youth to be in the plays and be extras.
What was the name of the organization?
It's through Broward Performing Arts. They are the
sponsor.
They are the sponsor. The event is called Rhythm by the River.
Rhythm by the River.
And they invite entertainment throughout the city. There's singers, there's spoken word, there's dancers. They even have workshops for individuals to take part in. It was a great afternoon. It was a Sunday afternoon from 2 to 6. Amazing day, amazing day.
We have a lot of talent in this city.
Yes, we do. We really do. And I believe that's all that I share. I had a busy 2 weeks, but these are some great highlights, and it was great to top it off with again Broward Days in Tallahassee, and I will be traveling to D.C. on Saturday for the National League of Cities.
That's
Yes.
up in Washington, right?
In Washington, D.C. Yes.
Bring your overcoat. Commissioner Glassman,
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
what have you been doing the last 2 weeks?
A lot. So I'll get into all of that right away. Just very quickly on some events that I wanted to call out. Solid Waste Working Group has been meeting a few times. We hit a few bumps in the road, but we've had a lot of meetings, and we're going to meet next week on the 30th.
It's been making the headlines.
Yes, we
lately.
have been making the headlines, and we're going to have a live meeting with all of the cities out in Sunrise on the 30th, so that should be very interesting. We overcame a few obstacles with regards to some of the dynamics with the county, but I think we're back on track, and I'll be happy to report after we have our meeting in person next week. Every city will be represented in Broward County next week out in Sunrise. It was great on the 10th and the 11th to participate. What a pleasure to have the delegation from Ireland with us for the street striping on Las Olas and by Las Olas Oceanside Park, and then on the 11th for the St. Patrick's Day Parade. I wanted to thank staff, everyone involved. It was a little bit different this year on the beach, and hopefully next year we will return to downtown as was told to the neighborhood. But it was really a good event, and I believe that it was really very well received, and I thought it went really well. Wednesday, March 15th was the Flagler Village Civic Association meeting. On Thursday, the 16th, was the Fort Lauderdale A1A Lighting Solutions meeting. That's a group that's been meeting very regularly, a lot of different representatives, even from the state and FDOT, to try and figure out a way to come to some sort of meeting of the minds on the lack of lighting on A1A with regards to the turtle restrictions. Tuesday, which was 2 days ago, we did have the Hendricks Isle seawalls completion ribbon cutting ceremony. That was great. The neighbors were all so very appreciative. A lot of positive comments from the folks that showed up from Venice Isle and Hendricks Isle. I wanted to thank Public Works for all of that work as well. And staff for getting the word out, but that was a great job, completed relatively quick time. That involved storm drains and valves and over 300 linear feet of seawall, and it was done under 7 months, so that was really good and so needed. Last night was Middle River Terrace Neighborhood Association meeting. Upcoming, we do have Friday, I guess that's tomorrow, the Broward Workshop's 15th Annual State of the County Forum. Also, Tuesday, March 28th, our Transportation and Mobility Department, along with FDOT, will have a virtual meeting talking about improving the intersection and capacity for US 1 and the Gateway Shopping Plaza area. And then also there'll be a in-person meeting following that. But Tuesday's the virtual meeting. Also Tuesday night will be the South Middle River Civic Association meeting. Coming up also Wednesday, March 29th is the Birch Park Beach HOA meeting. Always looking forward to that annual meeting. And then Friday next week, the 31st, we have the Downtowner of the Year event honoring Gina Ellis. So congratulations to that. I do have some comments, and some of them will be lengthy, so I ask for your indulgence on that, because I do want to address the legislative session and some of the bills that are making their way through, so I'll ask for your patience on that. I know that we are honoring tonight, Commissioner Beasley Pittman is going to be presenting a proclamation for Women's History Month, and I did want to note that a very notable woman, a Floridian for the last several decades, passed away. She actually was a congresswoman originally from Colorado. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Pat Schroeder. She was really quite a dynamic woman.
She was a congresswoman?
Pat Schroeder?
Oh, that Pat Schroeder?
Yes, from Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was.
She
I think
passed
maybe,
away?
Yeah, she did pass away. She actually moved to Central Florida, where she was very active for the last few decades.
Right.
But she was, I believe, maybe the youngest woman ever elected to Congress at age 32. In 1972, she did an incredible amount of work for family medical leave, also a Military Family Act, and she was really a dynamic personality. I will tell you that my favorite quote of hers, in the early 70s, there were not that many women in Congress. So one of her fellow lawmakers, a gentleman, so big surprise, asked her how she could be a wife, a mother, and a congresswoman all at once. And her answer to him was simply, quote, "I have a brain and a uterus, and I use them both." And I just thought that was really a tremendous quote for 1972, and I wanted to share. So again, she was quite an amazing woman, and she accomplished quite a lot in Congress. So she will be missed, and I'm sure Central Florida will miss her in particular. I did want to now get into some of the issues. I know we've talked about this a little bit, but I did want to get into it. I would also mention, just to dovetail on what Commissioner Beasley Pittman said, the affordable housing package is really very interesting, and we should maybe see how staff feels about it or talk about it, but it's sort of a catch-22 because HB 627 and Senate Bill 102, it's an interesting package that does commit something to affordable housing, but it comes with a caveat. It comes with preemption, a lot of preemption for local municipalities. You can't talk about local rent control laws. It also preempts local governments from dealing with rules on zoning, density, and building heights. So it's interesting. It's a real catch-22. So there's a lot that was added to the affordable housing package. Maybe we can have that discussion, but I just wanted to mention that because Commissioner Beasley Pittman mentioned it, and I know that Mayor, you had asked about it. So it's an interesting bill. So I've been looking through the legislative packages and all of the bills and reading everything that I can. I've also been hearing from constituents on these issues, and also I have a lot of feelings about some of these issues. So what I did was I've taken all of these bills that are making their way through, some faster than others, and I've come up with a few buckets, and I don't know how the city attorney wants to proceed with this, but these are the buckets. So the first bucket is the AP courses, African American Studies. I know that Commissioner Beasley Pittman brought that forward, and that we'll be approving some minutes tonight where that's all discussed for a couple of minutes, but I don't know where we are on that. But I still do believe that we should be moving forward with that walk-on resolution that was submitted to us from Attorney Spence, and I will just throw all that out, and maybe then we can go back and visit, but I just want to make note that that's my first concern. I also want to talk about education. I want to talk about HB 999 and its companion in the House, its companion in the Senate, 266. I don't know if you've had a chance to take a look at these bills. These bills really prohibit education when it comes to gender and race and equality. It's a very draconian bill, and I believe that we have to talk about it. And I think that I just think that it's an issue that is going to affect education going forward, and maybe also when I'm done with this, Daphne can tell us where we are with all these, if some of them have more urgency than others. I also wanted to talk about universal vouchers and what that's going to do to the public education system. Interesting to note that there have been some colleges already around the country that are already appealing to students in Florida and offering their schools as alternatives to what is coming down the pike in Florida with regards to higher education. I also want to talk about women's reproductive rights and abortion. And I mention this because at one time when Roe versus Wade was still in effect, we actually had that ability for women to make that choice. Then Florida went to a 15-week abortion law with no exceptions for rape or incest. And now we're facing a new legislation that will limit abortion to 6 weeks. 6 weeks. When many women do not even know that they're pregnant. Some might think, well, why be alarmed? It's still, 6 weeks. And I would say that I see Florida following a very slippery slope. I want to read to you what is happening right now in South Carolina. This is a state, and remember, we went from Roe versus Wade to 15 weeks, no exceptions for rape and incest, to 6 weeks. And now, what I think is going to lead to what's happening in South Carolina. Right now, there is a bill in South Carolina entitled the South Carolina Prenatal Equal Protection Act. This will afford equal protection of the laws to all preborn children from the moment of fertilization and reclassify any act that ends a pregnancy as willful prenatal homicide. Doctors and women can be sent to prison for 30 years if this law passes in South Carolina. So I'm just seeing the progression now in Florida, and it just makes me a little bit concerned. The next bucket that I want to be able to discuss are preemption bills. I've been able to identify some preemption bills that I think as a city we should be concerned about, and they even involve issues such as historic preservation. There is Senate Bill 1346 and HB 1317 that will get into us losing our ability to protect our national registered and locally designated structures. Also restrictions on redevelopment, on demolition, which actually will encourage demolition by neglect. There's also another bill, Senate Bill 1018 and House Bill 859, that will limit our say when it comes to historic landmarks. So that is a very strong preemption that I want to talk about and discuss. Also with preemption, I'd like us to get into some of the vacation rental bills. That's an issue that crops up all the time in neighborhoods in District 2, and I'm sure my colleagues find that cropping up in discussions in their district as well. But some vacation rental bills seem a little bit more serious than others. So I think that we need to just dive into those and make sure that we're not supporting and that we are opposing vacation rental bills that are very harmful to our city. I would like to talk about public safety, the permitless carry bill, HB 543, and Senate Bill 150. I think that will make our citizens less safe in Fort Lauderdale. These bills are moving rather quickly, I believe, and I believe that what they'll do, if I'm not mistaken, is they will actually remove some of the requirements now that are in place. There are requirements now that if you take a concealed weapon into public, that you are required to have a background check, you're required to be licensed, and you're required to go through training. All of that will be eliminated in the bills for the permitless carry. So that, I think, is very concerning for our city as well. My next bucket is actually I want to talk about property insurance, but I didn't have time to actually look at some of the issues that are out there. I know that the laws that are making their way through now are very, very much in favor of the insurance industry without really doing anything to assist homeowners with these skyrocketing property insurance rates. So I'd like to talk about that as well. And then the, let's see, I want to just make sure I've gone through that. The last issue, but certainly not least, is I want to talk about LGBTQ issues. I've had many people in District 2 talk to me about these issues. I don't have to tell everybody that our city has a large LGBTQ population, and District 2 probably has the largest of the districts. There's a great concern out there with these laws that are making their way through Tallahassee that involve the LGBTQ community, and particularly the transgender community. I've actually had a mother and a grandmother contact me and tell me that they're thinking of leaving the state, that they're concerned about the health and safety of their children. They're concerned about the laws in Florida right now making their way, and I forgot which bill it was, but actually, if I won't take the time right now, but there's actually a bill making its way through Tallahassee that even with parents' approval, a child in school will not be able to use the pronoun that child adequately feels conveys who that person is. I want to talk about that, Senate Bill 1438, which is coming down hard on drag shows. For the life of me, I do not understand the obsession with drag shows and drag queens, other than to make people even more marginalized and demean people even further than they're already demeaned. I just find that very, very troubling for our city, very troubling for our state. But again, I'll throw out some numbers. HB 1223, Senate Bill 1320, is also going to expand the quote, parental rights bills that have been passed in the future. Many call them the Don't Say Gay bills. But right now, which is only through third grade, I believe, is now being asked to be passed so that you can no longer talk about anything involving gender or anything to do with equity, anything to do with these issues through the end of high school, through 12th grade. In other words, 4th grade through 12th grade, these laws are looking to expand what is already on the books. So that would be HB 1223, Senate Bill 1320. Also, HB 1069 deals with these bills. Also, the, as I mentioned, House Bills 999 and 266, which is the higher education bill. Again, these laws to me are very, very frightening. And I think that as the voice, and we are, and I know some people feel that we shouldn't get involved, but I'll tell you why I think we should get involved. The average citizen often feels that they just don't have a voice. But when people tell me that they're thinking of moving outside of the state because they don't feel safe, or they feel that their community is being demonized and marginalized, I mean, I cannot even imagine if we saw bills like this being passed that actually substitute the word drag show, or substitute the word LGBTQ, or substitute any of that, substitute that with Jewish, or substitute that with black. Would that even be entertained in our state? Could you even get away with passing laws that would be so discriminatory and just so onerous and so bigoted that I just don't think that we would accept that. So I don't understand why we would accept that for the LGBT community. So we have a large community. There is a bill, while I'm on this topic, that's even going to prevent cities like Fort Lauderdale from flying a flag that it chooses to fly over City Hall or in a park. I think once a year we actually fly the pride flag, correct, Mayor?
We did, but I think that that bill also would preclude us from flying the Fort Lauderdale flag, too.
Yes, and actually, although one amendment that was offered and then withdrawn was it would still allow people to fly the Confederate flag. Right. That amendment was withdrawn. So that just shows you how crazy it is actually getting in Tallahassee. Okay, you need to pay attention to these things because you can lose your mind when you start to read everything that is being said. But particularly with regard to the LGBTQ community, it seems that there is a movement afoot to actually erase the conversation. Erase the conversation in high school, erase the conversation in college, and erasing the conversation about groups of people means that you're really trying to erase them. And I don't think that as a city, Fort Lauderdale should never, never sit back and accept the fact that we're going to let school children, college children, even just adults ever feel that they're not part of our city, or that they should be written out of society, or that there's something wrong with them. But that's what every single one of these bills is doing. So I'll get off my soapbox, but there's so many, again, I have folders for all of these things. I'd love to hear from Daphne where all of these bills are right now. I would leave it up to my colleagues, but I think remaining silent is just not an option.
Well, you put a lot on the table
Yes, I
right
did.
now,
I'm
and
sorry.
we're not going to be able to address each and every one
I
of
understand.
them. But I respect your opinion on these, and certainly I think the commission should speak to this specifically city issues, like you said, zoning and home rule issues. I think those are a priority. We should certainly examine what's on the table now and voice our opinion. I don't think there should be any controversy with regard to those. I'm particularly concerned about the affordable housing bill, which does attach to it as far as I'm concerned, there are poison pill covenants there that prevent us from determining heights and setbacks. That would mean that Lauderdale by the Sea can no longer limit their height restrictions to 4 stories. They could build 40-story buildings. And I mean, these are the kinds of things that are going to disrupt our communities and trying to prevent overdevelopment in our single-family home neighborhoods. I mean, those things are nightmares. But you brought up about 10 or 12 different issues. I don't know if we can talk about them now, but perhaps at the next meeting, we can identify maybe a few and we can bring them up as conference items. Does that make sense?
It does, although, Mayor, I would just want to remind everyone that this commission did take action. We did pass a resolution a few years ago concerning women's reproductive rights. We actually did pass a resolution on that, and I still would like to know where we are with the education and the AP African American Studies course that we just discussed and then didn't discuss. So those are some. I understand how you feel, although I still do believe that we should, as a commission, say something about some of those other issues as well. I'll leave that up to my colleagues. And I don't know the urgency. I don't know where those bills are right now. But I do believe that for us, the future of our schools is at stake. The future of the safety of students is at stake. The careers of teachers is at stake. And just the total independence of what used to be school boards around the state that set policy, that's all up for grabs right now. So I feel very strongly about all of those things. Again, it's up to you, but I've said my piece so that folks know how I feel about this.
Okay, Commissioner Beasley Pittman, you had want to add to
Yes, in regards to the resolution regarding the AP courses, there has been some changes as far as our school board and what approach they have taken with the AP class. They can't offer the course, but they are offering it as an honors class, and they're moving forward. That's part of their course selection for next year. So
Isn't that what AP is, an honors course?
it's
No?
separate. The AP is specifically
Advanced
college.
placement, college
it's
credit.
college credit.
Right, that's not considered an honors course.
And it's the honor course. It's an honors course, but it's a different type of credit that the student receives. Because with the honors course, you only receive the high school credit.
Right.
With the AP course, you get the opportunity with
college
passing the
credit.
test to receive that college credit. If we could have, I believe Daphne, if you could share a little bit about what we learned about what Broward County is doing regarding that AP course.
I'm a little short. Can you hear me? Yeah. All right. Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. I also just got off the plane from Tallahassee. I was on the same flight as Commissioner Herb, so if I am not making sense, please stop me so I can start making sense.
Well, clearly, there's something in the air there. They're considering bills like the ones the commissioner just described. It sounds like there's a unique atmosphere permeating people's brains there.
Yes, yes. Especially this week, they dropped some spreadsheets with our appropriations, which is significantly earlier than normal. So
Okay.
it definitely threw Broward Days off for a loop. And I can discuss that afterwards.
Okay.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman in regards, and Commissioner Glassman in regards to the AP African American Studies. While we were in Tallahassee during Broward Days, we had some conversation with the representative from the school board, Mr. Sullivan, and he had explained to us that the school district had adopted the course as an honors course rather than the AP course, but there are other schools in other jurisdictions that are piloting the AP course. They have had interest in the course. The portions that have been removed have been placed as interdisciplinary studies. So if a student did want to learn more about modern day advocacy, LGBTQ studies, they would be able to do that as an independent study course. But in Broward, the district had specifically started using the course as an honors course. And that was the information that we got. It was very simple. It was very short. There was no other explanation.
I would just like to add, and this, I haven't read that or I haven't seen that, and I'll be happy to talk to some school board members about that. But what I'm reading, just so you understand, is that there are major textbook companies now that are just not wanting to do business in Florida, okay? There are major textbook companies who just don't even know how to navigate. They don't even know how to talk about anything in history that most of us have taken for granted for many years as fact, because they're so afraid. So some have actually pulled out already. Others, and I'm just going to read this one example on this topic that we're talking about right now. Okay, so let me just throw out some of the edits that I read from one of the major publishing companies. This is a section on Rosa Parks, okay? So here's the lesson as it's currently taught, that, quote, the law said African Americans had to give up their seats on the bus if a white person wanted to sit down. Okay, so that's pretty much, okay, that's the history.
That's the history.
Okay, so let me just tell you what came after that while we're on this topic, okay? So after that, just to maybe appease what these laws are saying, that went to, quote, she was told to move to a different seat because of the color of her skin. Okay.
Okay.
So, not as comprehensive as original. And now in the updated version, listen to this. She was told to move to a different seat. Now, folks, okay, that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. But okay, but that's what's happening in our schools because of the fear of losing your job, the fear of the wrath of Tallahassee. That is what's happening. So if we want to see that happen to all of our history, if we want to see this happen to everything that we've always believed, if we want to see a time when the words equity, inclusion, and diversity are no longer curse words, they're no longer allowed right now, then we have to say something. I mean, right now, in all of these education bills, anything that talks about equity, inclusion, and diversity is bad. And read the bills, it's all there. It's all bad. So that's what we're facing. That's what our children are facing. They will no longer be able to compete in the world. They will no longer be educated as students are in other states. Our places of higher education will decline because no one's want to go to school there. God only knows what's going to happen in K through 12. And professors in higher levels of education will not want to teach here. So again, I've said what I wanted to say. Thank you. But again, I still think it's important for us to make a statement about advanced placement and to make sure that we no longer have to see our children read. No longer should our children have to read, "She was told to move to a different seat." That's all.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Excuse me, when we had taken that additional time to go over the resolutions that were given to us, the drafts, and I did have a conversation to get more clarity with our city attorney, interim city attorney, and there were some things that I was thinking that we can do that would accommodate both the intent of my initial point of the resolution and also the intent that you have. It was my suggestion that we would do two resolutions, one that would address the issues that I initially stated, and then also the resolutions of the things that you are citing as well. So if we can have a conversation to do that, we could see where we meet and make our point known.
Well, let's have that conversation. What were the points that you want included, and what are the points that you feel should be in a separate resolution? Do you recall?
I'm sorry, I don't. I know that specifically from the walk-on that we had the last meeting, Section 1 was an area that I definitely wanted to remain in the resolution.
So let's go back to that.
Yes.
Was that in, that was the regular meeting?
So I have
Is this
that
from
in
February
front of me now.
21?
Yes, February 21. So that section 1 of that draft resolution says that the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, urges the Department of Education to rescind its disapproval of the College Board's Advanced Placement African American Studies course, approve the official framework for the AP African American Studies course, and to include the revised Advanced Placement African American Studies course in the Florida Department of Education's Course Code Directory and Instructional Personnel assignments.
Sorry, I have
That was a
new phone.
walk-on, that wasn't
T.
on the
Wayne,
agenda.
is this resolution, you're reading from
This
that
was
6
provided,
pages?
provided for the February 21st.
It was a
meeting.
walk-on, though.
Yeah,
It
I
was a
think,
walk-on, and
I just
it's-
couldn't find where you were just reading that.
So that's section 1
But I see all the whereases, and then, hold on, I'm looking for section 1.
on page 5.
Oh, page 5, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, section 1, I got you.
It was a walk-on, so it wasn't on.
It was a walk-on that we had in front of us that evening on the 21st.
Yeah.
Correct. And so what occurred at the conference meeting is that you referenced a resolution that was adopted by Broward County with regards to education in general. So we modified the prior draft of the resolution to add Section 2. And Section 2 provides that the City Commission of the City of Fort Lauderdale opposes all legislative and executive measures that would erode or diminish the integrity and standards of Florida educational programs and institutions. In addition to that, Section 3, we've added a number of different recipients of the resolution as a result of the scope being brought in by Section 2 to oppose legislative as well as executive measures. So if you separate the two, you'll have a resolution that specifically addresses the exclusion of the Advanced Placement African American Studies course, and that would be directed only to the Department of Education and the governor. And then you would have a separate resolution that addresses legislative and executive measures that affect education, and that would be directed to whomever you direct. Because I know that last time there was some discussion that some of the individuals mentioned in this draft that there was a desire not to name them directly, or if I recall that discussion.
I think we had said not to send it to the to the legislature, or the governor, but to send it to the school board, I believe was the recommendation at the time.
I did not agree with that recommendation.
Yeah, I know that. I'm just saying that was what the latest discussion.
I'm just a
Okay,
little
okay.
unclear, Dwayne, are we still, what about all these whereases? They all remain? I'm just a little unclear what we're doing with this walk-on.
All of these whereases address the AP course.
Right.
I don't believe that there's anything here that adds additional language addressing the broader scope that Section 2 of the resolution provides.
Well, Commissioner Glassman, I think.
Well,
you know,
okay, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, I think your point is well taken, that any attempt to sanitize history and to divert the attention away from the historical facts, is egregious and overstepping. I think everyone would agree with you in terms of that. The question is, how do we frame the message and to whom should the message be sent? I think there's some hesitation to not joust with the legislature at this point because of what's going on there and possible appropriations that are being considered for our city. But I'm not sure the loss of any of those appropriations is going to compromise our ability to function as a city. So, I still think we'll get our money no matter what. I just think that I'm personally with you on doing a resolution. I think that this is really important. I'd like to consider other resolutions too, that you brought up other issues, but let's just focus on this one right now. I don't know if we have unanimity about that, but I would like to get some measure of consensus to see if we can express the opinion of the city of Fort Lauderdale with regard to African American studies and gender issues.
So Dwayne, are you saying if we take out Section 2, which I understand, but actually Section 2, the wording in Section 2 actually to me would fit very nicely for all the other education issues that we talked about in terms of HB 999 and its Senate companion. But I understand what you're saying. I'm fine with this walk-on.
Of course, we're at a loss here because the vice mayor, myself, I don't think Commissioner Herbst has it in front of him either. I don't have none of us have a copy of this in front of us. So the clerk is getting us a copy.
Yeah, he's getting one.
Okay. All right. What do you want to do about, as I said, this commission has already passed a resolution dealing with women's reproductive rights, and it is Women's History Month. Did you want to address that issue at all?
Well, if we've already done it, what do we have to do?
Well, no, we did it before Roe versus Wade was overturned, correct, City Attorney?
That's correct.
We
So-
did it when Texas started to pass its legislation, and we did it sort of as a preemptive resolution. A lot has happened since our resolution. Obviously, times have changed. Supreme Court did its thing, and Florida now is, since our resolution, Florida went to 15 weeks without exceptions for rape or incest, and now I believe it's proposing 6 weeks.
Well, I guess it didn't really have much influence on their decision.
Well,
did it?
Again, I could read you the poem from
I
quite
read
a
the-
while
I've
ago.
heard
You
the
know the
poem.
poem.
I've heard the poem.
People need to speak.
But
If
I-
people
you know,
don't speak,
if we're gonna do resolutions, and
Yes.
and I support the message in the resolution that you're proposing, but I would like, as a commission, to start focusing on the direct city issues.
Yes.
Okay, and while women's reproductive rights are extremely important and they should be defended, I would like to focus really on some of the other issues you raised that are direct city issues.
yes, that's fine with me. I agree. We should
Okay.
talk about all the preemption bills.
Right.
But I think that those are also important because they really do affect people's lives on a daily basis. You can pass bills talking about preemption when it comes to vacation rentals. You can talk about passing resolutions when it comes to preemption laws on affordable housing. But, for the woman who is suffering because she doesn't know what to do, those resolutions on preemption bills will not make her feel any more comfortable
Okay, all
in
right,
Fort
so-
Lauderdale.
I understand. So with regard to this resolution that's been given to us, is this something that what portion or all a part of this, Commissioner Beasley Pittman, are we good with this? Did you want to excise something from that?
I'm sorry. I was really comfortable with the statement of section 1. I was not trying to expound any further than that. Because I believe that what we're saying, what my intent with what we were saying in section 1 covers the intent of my statement.
And I'm fine with that. And if we want to remove section 2 and Dwayne attach that to eventually if we do address HB 999, I'm fine with that.
Well, section 2 is pretty enough.
Yeah, but Commissioner Beasley Pittman just wants to focus on section 1.
Section 2 is pretty general,
It's general.
Commissioner.
That would enroll the mission of.
But you're good with section 1? Section 2 just says, we don't want you to do anything to hurt our programs or institutions.
So I think, Mayor, part of the discussion was with regards to Section 3 and who the resolution would be going to. With the direction for only Section 1, it would only be going to the Department of Education and possibly the governor.
Right.
With the introduction of Section 2, you have to instruct us with regards to who in the legislature you would like to send this item to. And I
Right.
believe in prior discussions, that was of some concern.
Well, typically, I mean, we've always sent resolutions to the decision makers because that's why are you sending it to anyone that's not a decision maker? I mean, eventually these bills will end up on the governor's desk. So we've always sent it to that list, right? The Broward legislative delegation.
I'm good with the whole thing. I think you did a good job. I think it addresses the issue and is very comprehensive. So I thank you for your staff for doing this. So I'm good with the whole thing. Looking at it, honestly, I took AP Latin.
You did?
It got me far. What do you
Mayor.
think, Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
Oh.
And I'm still standing in that same position where section 1, I'm not comfortable definitely with District 3. I'm sorry,
Section 3?
Section 3,
Right.
to go into outlining all who would necessarily receive this document.
So you don't, so to whom would you want this addressed?
But isn't that boilerplate? I'm sorry for interrupting, but isn't it boilerplate that we always say who we're sending it to? I have seen that in every resolution we've ever done.
This is going to the Board of
Correct.
Education.
The purpose of the resolution is to express is an expression of the city commission, and the city commission directs to whom we send that to. So that's important that a section in the resolution is provided that states that. I think the question is, whom does this body want to send that information to, dealing with legislation? I think Daphne may be helpful in guiding that a bit, maybe.
Perhaps. Thank you.
Thank you.
I haven't.
Mayor, Commissioners, Daphne Saneville, Government Affairs. I would recommend sending, you have decided to send a resolution, it would be to the College Board, the Department of Education, to our legislative delegation, but as far as sending it to the Speaker or the Senate President, since the legislature itself doesn't have any role in this particular decision-making process, to not include them in this resolution. And of course, if you would like to include it to the governor, but I would recommend against that. I would just recommend sending it to the Department of Education and the College Board, as it sits with them at the moment.
And the legislative delegation,
And the
Broward.
legislative delegation, since they are our Broward legislative
Okay,
delegation.
that should be meaningful. Okay.
What about the State Board of Education Chair, Thomas Grady?
Yeah, the State Board of Education, since it would be addressed to the
Okay.
State Board of Education, the College Board, and our legislative delegation.
So if we're looking at Section 3, we're just eliminating the governor and we're eliminating the Commissioner of Education?
And
or
the Senate,
including him?
and the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House.
Right.
Yes, we would be eliminating those.
We'll be eliminating the Commissioner of Education?
We can include the Commissioner of
Yeah,
Education,
and- okay.
Mr.
We need to
Diaz.
include the
Yeah, so then just the governor and the
Senate President and the
and the
Speaker.
Speaker of the House.
Would be removed.
I'm fine with that.
Thank you.
You good with that, Commissioner?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so why don't we bring that as a walk-on tonight?
Sure thing.
Okay. And why don't you pick a couple of the other items for the next commission meeting, if you don't mind, Commissioner Glassman, and we can address those?
Should we, though, move, Daphne, in terms of, is there urgency with regards to any of the preemption bills that the mayor has mentioned that he'd like to see us focus on?
There are some that I can finish going through. I know I picked the most controversial to finish first versus the reverse.
Okay.
But I can go through them pretty quickly so you know where they stand. And
Okay.
then at the next meeting, I didn't catch all of them that Commissioner Glassman had mentioned, but we can give me that list and I'll go through them.
Okay.
So as far as SB 102 with the affordable housing bill, it is on third reading with the full Senate. It's going to be discussed and debated tomorrow. So tomorrow, we would be able to watch it, see where they're going. It will most likely pass because it was a Senate President priority. The height and density is still in there. I believe that was the compromise language in order for both Senate and the House to get it this far. But I think we'll be able to work with it. And then moving forward.
Well, wait. So it still includes those provisions regarding
Correct.
restrictions on height, setback, and all that, right?
Right, it specifically says that county may not restrict the height of such development below the highest allowed height for commercial or residential development in its jurisdiction within 1 mile of the proposed development or 3 stories, whichever is higher.
I don't
So
know
we-
what that means. Do you know what that means, Anthony?
I was gonna have Anthony come and properly explain it.
Good afternoon, Anthony Fajardo. As I read it, what it basically means is that if you're going to do a project in an area that's, say, it's RMM 25, so 25 units to the acre, you can do 3 stories for a single-family structure and 5 stories for a multifamily structure. But if that location's within 1 mile, which most of them will be, of other zoning districts that allow additional height, say CB or B1, which up to 150 feet, then you can go up to that height.
So I can put a 150-foot building in Rio Vista?
That's how it reads to me.
That's what I thought. We need to say something about that. Because I see Commissioners, Vice Mayor Sturman thinking about a 20-story house. That would be ridiculous.
We really don't, in the city of Fort Lauderdale, have a lot of zoning districts that maintain a low height that are not within a
Well,
mile
it
of an
just-
additional.
There's got to, I mean, I can't believe they're that crazy. They've got to, there must be some philosophy behind that law. It just seems to be poorly worded. What, I'm just trying to figure out what were they getting at that they're trying to accomplish? Because no one anticipates putting a 10-story building in a single-family home neighborhood. I mean, I don't
It
think they
really
intend-
doesn't take into consideration an urban setting. If you look at more rural areas of the state, it probably makes more sense,
Okay,
I'm guessing.
right.
But in an urban setting, it really doesn't make a lot of sense.
Okay. We need to say something about that.
Daphne Sainville, Mayor, Commissioners. And because it is placed on third reading, by passing, if we do say something and pass a resolution, it wouldn't really make a difference because they've already fast-tracked it to the floor for a full vote with the legislature. And, you know, depending on how debate goes, and it's on third reading, so pretty much it's there for a vote, it would go to the governor's desk for signature. So it's already at the process where there wouldn't be any
So we'll
floor.
send the resolution to the governor.
The only thing that
Is he in residence now? I mean, I don't even know.
the only thing that we can do instead of sending a resolution to the legislature would be to write a letter to the governor, should this pass, to veto it. Expressing our concerns with the height and density portion of it.
Anyone have any thoughts on this?
Is it too late, though, to communicate that with the legislative delegation? It's too late?
Yes.
Okay.
They are aware, and they have been aware of our concerns. We did express that we were concerned the Florida League of Cities had supported the bill because it does promote affordable housing throughout the state. It was one of those that they pick and choose their battles.
See, that's the rub, Mayor. If you look at the package from the League of Cities,
Yeah.
they have come out in support of some things that necessarily you might not think that they would, but they did.
Duane, have you had any opportunity to look at this? Do you know if, I know you haven't really, probably.
Sorry, I haven't.
I mean, this is scary stuff. It can totally disrupt the configuration of neighborhoods and zoning in our city. And that's why that's why I can't believe that it's worded in a way that we're interpreting it. I think that they probably had a different intention, but it's just being worded in such a way that that it can be interpreted in different ways. And I know the development community will try to take advantage of it. And we're just going to get sued if we deny an application.
So with the bill, in addition to that, they had said that allowable uses in any area zoned for commercial or mixed use of at least 40% of the units would be affordable for at least 30 years and serve an income up to 120% AMI. And that's where I think that whole zoning height and density comes in with the threshold that's there.
All right, so Anthony, do you feel there's, do you have any suggestions on what you think the city commission could or should do in this regard?
I
know
think
you're
if you
not.
have a chance to communicate that you are opposed to it, you probably should. 40% is a pretty high threshold for any development to do affordable housing, so you may not see that many, but the possibility is still there.
So Commissioner Glassman, you brought up the issue. How would you, what type of resolution would you want to create?
I think it's important to express what we think, even if we can get to somebody, I mean, or at least just go on record or express these reasons. Maybe we could get some help from staff in terms of the language of what exactly would be the most onerous part that could help us with the whereas clauses. But yeah, I see this being very destructive to neighborhoods in Fort Lauderdale.
I know, but the thing is that according to Daphne, it's already proceeded through the legislative process, and the final vote's going to be tomorrow. So I don't know if we're really just spinning our wheels, even talking about it.
Well-
It would have to be an appeal directly to the governor's office.
Well, at least I still think it wouldn't hurt to do to the delegation, only because at least they would know that we were on record and we took a look at it. But then, yes, you would obviously have to send it to the governor, because that would be the last stop when the bill reaches his desk.
Well, he's been known to veto things that do hurt communities. So
Right. So maybe we explain, what's
what our position is
what's
and how it
difficult
will
there.
impact us.
Maybe that part hasn't been mentioned enough. Although I will tell you that I have read quotes from folks that in Tallahassee, some of the legislators are saying they're accepting this bill because it finally does move the needle on affordable housing.
Right.
And they're swallowing the other pill, the other part of it. They're just, to get the affordable housing, because you have to remember, the state for many years, you know what happened with the Sadowski funds, and everything was rated all the time.
Yeah, but if you look at the amount of money that's been allocated in this bill, it's a pittance
Yeah.
compared to, I mean, this is a couple $100 million, but for the entire state of Florida.
Correct.
I mean, it's pathetic. I mean, Broward County could spend that amount of money.
Correct.
So, to me, I just don't think we have to accept the bad provisions in order to receive the good provisions when the good provisions are not really, the one doesn't outweigh the
No,
other.
I agree with you, and that's why I think maybe we do try to make the argument as well as we can, so the governor reads that when the bill hits its desk. I mean, Daphne's telling us that now it's pretty much a done deal, but maybe we can still express ourselves and express to him what this does to, more urban municipalities and what happens to the neighborhoods, and be really clear and specific.
So,
Mayor?
I have,
yeah, yes.
So Daphne and I were talking, one option that we could do if we wanted to if you were wanting to write a letter to the governor's office, we could do a GIS exercise real quick to show how much of the city in residential areas would be in that 1 mile area, to give a percentage and then give an example of what that might look like. So say you have in Rio Vista some RS 4.4, which is usually maxed out at 3 stories, that you would then be in a situation where a huge percentage of those properties would be allowed to go up to 150 feet because of the commercial zoning along the corridor. So I think it might help illustrate it if that's the way you choose.
Well, I think
to
that's
move.
important. Did you want to say something, Commissioner?
yes, I was going to ask which instrument, the letter versus the resolution, would have more tread, which would actually reach the governor, because I'm thinking if he's got an issue with resolutions, it's going to go in that resolution file.
You want me to do
And
a
if we have a
letter?
letter,
Should I do a letter?
I think the letter may get
So maybe
a stronger
maybe
opportunity.
a letter from the mayor on behalf of the commission with the attachments. I think I think it's a good idea.
That would be the recommended route.
All right.
Okay.
Commissioner Herbst, you haven't said anything on this subject. You're not in favor of resolutions? I know.
As I've stated before, generally the answer is no unless it pertains to some aspect of city business. I do think this particular one is something that I would support a letter from you on. One of the things that I've usually found is it's helpful if you offer alternatives and not just object to something. So if there's something that we would find that would be more acceptable, I think that's worth including in it. It's not just no, it's a no but.
Right. So we can frame the message in that context then. All right.
Correct.
In
Thank you.
addition to the letter, is there any possibility we could intercept it at the legislative process at all, like going to the House floor or anything like that? Or?
It's with the new Senate and House rules, it's more difficult to have any floor amendments pass. It would flow through, failure is about 99.9% of anything that would remove or adjust that density height language.
And this should be, tomorrow is the day they're going to be voting on it?
Correct, and there's a deadline to submit any type of amendment prior to the day that they're hearing it.
So no way we could intercept before tomorrow?
It would be a floor amendment, and floor amendments are very, very, very rare to get accepted onto the floor.
We could still try on both fronts, a letter as well as whatever we could do on the legislative side too.
It's a matter of finding a member who will file that floor amendment. So we could present something to them, but the chances of them filing it wouldn't be,
Well, it's a
And
it's
it's
a Senate
also-
vote tomorrow, you said?
it's on the floor tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think we have anybody from the Senate delegation that would have any sufficient sway to be able to get the majority to add an amendment to there. So, and they'd want to study it, and, who would we get? We get our representative, Senator Pizzo, but, he's, they're just gonna override it. They have the supermajority, so maybe, I think the letter is the best way, because I know the governor has vetoed things in the past that he realized, do not help cities. So we'll just take our shot, I guess. All right, thank you.
And vacation rentals, Senate Bill 714 and House Bill 833. The House bill is not moving at the rate that the legislature is going. This bill would permit our grandfathered local law ordinances that were adopted on or before June 1st, 2011, to be amended to be less restrictive, so it's not bad. However, a local government may require vacation rentals, as you know, to be registered, but it would cap the registration fee to not exceed $50 for an individual registration or $100 for a collective vacation rental registration. It's that collective cap where you could be an owner of multiple vacation rentals, but you only register that as a collective for 100 versus 100 for each. While we were up in Tallahassee, there was discussion that there is an amendment that may come that would change that. So they would have to pay for each, the owner would have to pay for each vacation rental versus one cap on the collective. So it would mitigate whatever happens. However, because the House bill is not moving and subcommittees will probably close out week 6, so in about 2 weeks, because week 5 is Easter, so they have a shortened week. Subcommittees stop meeting around week 6 because they go into budget negotiation mode and into committees. Committees stop meeting around that time. So whatever doesn't get to the floor and pass through the committees generally die. And as I said before, we really won't know until they drop the handkerchief and end, but it looks like any type of vacation rental bill that we see wouldn't be negative, because the ones that don't really affect us are kind of moving forward or just failing out.
Okay. All right, thank you.
There's two more, sorry. The public safety bill for open carry they're both being debated on the floor today. So they're running in the background as we're discussing it now. So we'll see what happens while they're being debated on the floor. It is, I believe it's second reading, so it won't fully pass today. It'll just get through the debate and then go on third reading.
Daphne, how would that affect our public places in Fort Lauderdale? Let's say the open carry permit list passes. What would that do to our public places in Fort Lauderdale? Any public space, City Hall, any of the parks, any of the buildings that are, city places? How would that affect that?
I honestly don't know how to answer that. I would leave that to our police chief to answer that, to see how it would be affected, and I can do a deeper dive on the bill, but as of now, it doesn't look like it would affect us, aside from individuals being able to openly carry in public spaces, but not government buildings or schools. I believe those provisions remain the same. There's no prohibition there. I'll come back to you with an answer, though.
Okay. But it does still do away with those requirements previously concerning training, licensing, and background check.
No, you would still have to go through through that process. The bill was amended. I have to read through the amendment. I did not get a chance to read through it. I apologize. But I will go through it, and I'll come back to you with a substantive analysis of what the amendment does.
Thank you. That'd be really helpful. And then what about the historic preservation bills, the two bills?
Historic preservation bills. Senate Bill 288 is in its last committee of reference, which is appropriation. But I don't see it going very far. Hold on 1 second, just to double check.
I think we had SB 1346 and HB 1317, and we had SB 1018 and HB 859. Those bills all dealt with the city's ability to deal with its historic structures.
Those are either in their first or second subcommittee, and if they are not agendaed to get through the next 2 weeks, they would die in subcommittee because they haven't gone through their committees of reference. I haven't had a chance. I know I sent it off to our departments and divisions to look over and provide comments, so I'm still waiting for their official staff comment.
Do we have time till our next commission meeting, or is that something that we should consider if we wanted to?
It would depend. I know delete all amendments were filed on some of them, so I would have to go through the delete all amendments to see how it could have changed from negative to positive.
Okay. So, Anthony, have you been following that at all in terms of how this would affect our status as a certified local government and also as our ordinance historic preservation ordinance, how these bills would impact. I mean, from my reading, and I'm not an expert, but it looks like it really has a say in terms of making it much easier to demolish historic landmarks and also to really not afford the protections that we have for local designations and whatever there might be for national trust designations, although those are not usually so strong locally. But these four bills look a little troubling to our program, so I was just wondering.
Commissioner, I don't know if you heard, Al Battle just confirmed that Tricia's opinion is that it does make it easier to demolish those structures. I haven't spoken to her in detail about this yet, so I'll get with her and see what else she feels about it as far as our certified local government status.
Okay. Well, again, Mayor, that to me is a preemption bill because it just gets in the way of our entire process. So if you want, my colleagues feel they want to weigh in on that, that's another preemption. Are there any other preemption bills, Daphne, that other than the ones I've mentioned that we should be focusing on that affect us in terms of our own laws?
Safe structures. Sovereign immunity is one of them. However, we met with the Senate bill sponsor, and he told us that was not going to move forward on the Senate side. He's walking away from it this year.
Okay.
So it was going to affect us by raising the sovereign immunity caps to 2 million and 3 million respectively. 2 million for an individual incident, 3 million for a group incident. But the House bill wanted to lower that to 400,000 and 600,000 respectively. If it did revive itself and become what we call a zombie bill, they would negotiate and have it at 400,000 and 600,000 respectively. And
What's it at now, 200?
it's 100 and 300, Dwayne, the sovereign immunity cap?
200.
I think it's 100 and 200 or 100 and 300.
I don't have the answer for you at the moment.
This is what happens when you come out to play.
Yes. Two. So that's about it for preemption?
I believe there are some more. I do have a large list of bills that I'm following. There are about 400 on the list, so I just need to go through them. I do owe you updates for weeks 1 to 3. Our lobbyists are also working on the updates for this week, but considering there are things on Senate session and House session that are happening today and tomorrow, we usually wait until session is adjourned for the day and then write up the reports over the weekend. So you'll get a full report on what's moving and what's not moving and looking towards what's happening next week.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so we've accomplished something, and I appreciate all of your efforts in bringing this to our attention, Commissioner. Is there anything further?
Sorry, so I just want to be clear. So we're going to do the walk-on this evening for
the
AP?
Yeah, for the AP and and then we're gonna put together a letter to send to the governor with regard to the
Affordable
other bill
housing.
on affordable housing.
And then we're going to wait to see for Daphne in terms of some of the other preemptions. Do we
Yes.
feel any urgency at all about anything that she mentioned today, whether it's vacation rental, historic preservation? I mean,
Some of those issues you brought up are not going to be winners for us. We know that we like the open carry and the Don't Say Gay bill to 12th grade. You might as well just, you're just talking to the wind. There's an
Okay.
agenda in Tallahassee that we're never going to be able to change anybody's minds with regard to that. You can certainly send a letter yourself, and I can certainly send a letter myself, giving our opinions.
Yes.
But I don't know whether this commission has the appetite to be weighing in on those.
Okay, women's reproductive rights, the abortion bill making its way through. Any appetite there?
I don't know.
I was asking, or thinking here, you said there was a resolution that was written before Roe versus Wade was reversed. What did that look like? What was the content in it? What did we say at that point?
Do you remember?
Dwayne, I
Sure.
do, go ahead, I'm sorry. You have it in
So I
front of
do
you because
have a
you sent it to
copy.
me.
I do have a copy of that resolution. It was Resolution 21-184. And generally, it provided that the City Commission opposed legislation passed in Texas and other states that abridged the person's fundamental right to privacy by curtailing the right to abortion. And it urges all Florida municipalities to join in the effort to safeguard, promote access to reproductive health care and abortion rights, and pass resolutions urging the Florida legislature to take steps necessary to protect, promote reproductive health and abortion rights instead of restricting them. And that was
I will say there are actually some bills now in Tallahassee that are supporting. There are bills that have been supported with regards to women's reproductive rights, because the bills that are there now, and I have them written down, the numbers, I just neglected to mention it, but they actually do support the concern that this all falls under Florida's Constitution's privacy provision.
Right to privacy, correct.
And that's something that the Florida Supreme Court has always upheld, but that was a different Supreme Court back then in Florida than it is now. But I think those bills, right, Dean Wayne, they right now in Tallahassee making their way through.
I would have no objection to participating in a resolution, reiterating our position and reaffirming our position. Commissioner Beasley Pittman, do you have any thoughts on that?
That's why I wanted to hear the
Yeah.
resolution to see what it says.
That's really what all it said.
Yeah,
So
so
there
if
would be a
it's,
slight change to it with regards to, this resolution was predicated on the existing position under Roe. A couple of months after its adoption, the Supreme Court adopted the case of Dobbs, which overturned Roe and found that there is not a fundamental right to an abortion under the privacy rights under the federal Constitution. So the bills that are going through or that's under consideration is to recognize abortion as a privacy right under the Florida Constitution, or affirming that, rather. And so that would be the minor adjustment.
And I believe, I did find the numbers, the ones that are kind of difficult, and I would oppose, would be HB 007 and Senate Bill 300. But I think that we're talking about supporting HB 1033 and Senate Bill 1076. Daphne, do we know where those are right now? Any of those?
I can.
Okay.
So HB 7007 and I'm sorry, yes, and HB 300. So
Senate Bill 300.
Senate Bill 300, apologies. Senate Bill 300 is in its last committee of reference, fiscal policy, and it will be discussed and voted on March 28th at 8:30 in committee. So next week, it's been agended.
What is it? What is it about?
The Senate bill on, oh my God, pregnancy and parenting support. So
Oh, okay.
it's the one of the abortion bills. So HB 7 prohibits the abortions, the 6-week ban. It does add on the exceptions of rape, incest, and human trafficking, I believe, if the fetus is less than 15 weeks. And if the woman is seeking abortion, they have to provide that certain documentation.
And by the way, I want to talk about that for a second, because that documentation that a woman has to provide just does nothing but re-traumatize the woman. It puts the woman through an amazing exercise to desperately say, if you're past 6 weeks, that I need to have an abortion. That's what that's all about, and that to me is also just reprehensible.
Okay.
Reprehensible. So I think if you're going to think about doing this, Mayor, I think you have to somehow tie it into supporting HB 1033 and Senate Bill 1076. I'm sure they won't go anywhere, but where are they now?
They are not going anywhere.
Exactly. Those are the bills that would actually say that we should respect Florida's Constitution and that this would fall under the Right to Privacy Act, correct?
Correct.
Correct. So that's my say on that.
Okay. Anyone have any thoughts? Would you support a resolution, Commissioner Beasley Pittman?
no comment at this time.
No comment. Okay.
Okay. So my last bucket would be anything to do with LGBTQ issues, especially the demonization of the transgender community.
Well, I intend to write a personal letter on that.
Okay.
And, I just don't think it's going to go anywhere at this legislature. I think it's offensive what they're trying to do. They're trying to, I remember when I went to college in Boston, there was always this giggle that everyone would we find ourselves when everyone would say, "Oh, it was banned in Boston." It was like
Yeah.
a phrase. And I guess during Victorian times, there was always this attitude in Boston where it was so conservative that they banned anything that was offensive to Victorian values, and I think we're coming back to that, where people just are looking to ban things which is so offensive to the whole letter and spirit of what the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence was all about, which is the freedom of expression and freedom of thought and freedom of assembly and all of that, just completely is erased with bills and laws that completely eradicate history and completely eradicate conversation. It just makes no sense whatsoever. But again, that's my opinion. May not be shared by everybody, but I certainly encourage you to do whatever you want to contact our legislators or our governor and express your point of view.
And my last question
That's
is...
not been taken away.
No, well, no, and I will. I will just agree to disagree with you. I do think we should take a stand as the city of Fort Lauderdale, but that's okay. I understand what you're saying. What about education? What about HB 999 and Senate Bill 266, which removes any education about gender, race, equity, and really, really does a number on making sure that our students are educated properly. Any appetite for that?
Well, I'm not sure it's a city issue per se, but it does affect all citizens within our city. It's an education issue. It's within the purview of the Board of Education. But, I mean, again, I'm certainly willing to participate in a resolution which speaks against restricting education like that. So, I don't know, Vice Mayor, do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, I'll discuss this when my conference time comes. I'll digress it.
Okay, all right.
Okay, well, thank you, and thank you to my colleagues for your patience. I know that was a lot, but I just
okay.
happen to feel very strongly about all of those issues, so
All right.
thank you.
Now,
So,
can
Mayor,
can I seek everyone's indulgence for like 10 minutes? Can we just take a break? Because
But I'm the last
Yes.
conference, I'm gonna be quick.
Oh, you'll be quick? Oh, okay.
I'm the last one.
No, I'm the last one, but that's okay.
Well, I'll be quick.
Okay.
I'll forget what I was talking. Should I go ahead?
Go ahead.
Okay, well, geez, I don't know whether to comment about what Steve said, or, let me just get this out the way briefly, what
Go ahead,
the discussion is, and then I'll get into the few things that I want to talk about. I wasn't going to mention this today, but I'll go ahead. There's a balance here. What John says, stick to things that are city-related and things that are tangible to our city versus things that are social issues that we don't necessarily deal with in the city, but are important to the people that we represent. I want us to think about the fact that we need to prioritize something. There's something on the table here with affordable housing. We're going to be sending something out to the governor right now. We have to be strategic about this. We don't want to put a whole bunch of fronts out and sabotage what we need to get done with the governor. So the question is things such as education, LBGT, the African American studies. Question is, do we want to hold off until that letter is sent to the governor so that way it's not falling on deaf ears at that point? Because the priority right now is something tangible that we could get versus something that making a statement that probably will not change the needle and sabotaging what we really need to get out is the governor's veto on that particular bill. So timing and strategy is pretty important how we handle those, what we do in Tallahassee. That's my thought. Let me move on to the less hot topics. Number one, I want to thank Commissioner Beasley Pittman for joining me at Broward General with the ribbon cutting. That was quite a fantastic event. Great technology. It's great for the whole community. Number two, we had a bicycle ride last weekend. I was planning on having a monthly bicycle ride. The The MPO beat me to the punch. It was a fantastic opportunity, about 2.5 hours bicycling through the city, mainly through my district, tying in history of the city. And we're planning in D4 having a monthly bicycle ride. Anybody who wants to bike with us on a casual basis, give opinions about bicycle safety, parks, and whatnot. Number two, we're going to have a president's meeting in my district. It's going to be the last Wednesday in March this particular month. We're going to be doing this on a regular basis. Everybody that's a member of a community, please list your priorities. This is something we've been planning on doing for a while. Some neighborhood presidents came up to me and actually facilitated something we were planning anyway. And we're looking forward to, on a monthly basis, meeting with all the presidents, getting feedback from the community. Some of the things that we've brought over here have come from the community already. Number three, talking about town hall, we mentioned that briefly with Stratcom. D4 is planning a town hall anyway. It's funny that we should mention this. This should be, we believe, targeting the second week in April, so keep an eye out for that at a town hall gathering for District 4. I want to thank everybody who participated in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. I was not able to go there. Did you guys have a lot of fun? Was it a great event?
It was a lot of fun.
I was up with the family, great opportunity to be with my family up in Utah. My back is starting to have feeling back in my legs at this point from falling down skiing, but we had a good time. And let me see, I think that's about it. I may thank and oh yeah, one last thing. I am going to be joined by Commissioner Beasley Pittman as well as the city manager. We're going to be going up to Washington, D.C. this Saturday for the League of Cities. We're looking forward to that. Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Okay.
One quick question. I'm sorry. You're cycling, your bicycle ride, that is a casual bicycle ride?
Yes.
It's not one of those cycling and
No, you bring your own bikes. And you
I
bring,
have to ask the question because I fall.
No, you bring your own.
I got caught up in that one time. I thought it was just a casual bike ride, and it was a cycling high impact. Yes, and I was like,
Oh,
my
no,
God.
we go on the streets, and we had no. They
Yeah,
arranged for
that's
police
funny.
escorts,
That's funny.
and they had a tour, and there was a bicycle. It was very well orchestrated by Stratcom and MPO, and it was very safe. It wasn't very.
So my 3-speed will be good if I come out.
We stop every so often to talk, a little water along the way, a little history, then we go to the next spot. It was actually a fantastic day.
Okay, that's my
Okay.
speed. Thank you.
May we just take a 10-minute break? Thank you. We'll resume our conference meeting. Thank you for your indulgence. Just have a few things I'd like to talk about. There's 20 bills in the, no, I'm just kidding. So just so that you know, your mayor's been a little busy the last couple of weeks. I had an opportunity to sit down with the Downtown Development Authority and talk about downtown issues. It was a very constructive meeting, and hopefully we'll get some good results from it. I also had the opportunity to recognize 6 women at the History FTL Women's Trailblazers event at the Galleria. That was really a wonderful and heartwarming recognition of 6 wonderful women who really do such great things for our community. I want to talk a little bit about the St. Patrick's Day Parade. I thought it was a wonderfully done parade. I want to thank the organizers, Mr. Campbell, and everybody who was, Tim McGovern, everyone who was involved with putting that together. And I think that it shows how great we can come together as a community and put on these events, whether it be for Pride, St. Patrick's Day, the Italian festival, the Brazilian festival, the Sistrunk festival. It's great that we have such wonderful collection of cultures and diversity in our city. Having said that, however, I don't think it should go back to the beach. The people on the beach suffer enough, and I really think it should come back to the city downtown on Las Olas. I know it was a great event. Everybody loved it on the beach, but the imposition of those who live on the beach, I thought it was, it was just one too many events, and we need to really rethink how much activity goes on at the beach. And that's a conversation I think we've been talking about for a while. And Commissioner Glassman, I think we need to revisit that issue and really put a limit on the number of events that we put on the beach. So,
Well, I think, Mayor, as you know, I've been mentioning this for months and months and months, but I agree with you, and I think that, City Manager, don't we have a meeting that's going to be totally one agenda item geared towards us having this discussion?
Yes, in the first meeting of April, we're going to come with a discussion on the experience and also lessons learned so that we can improve the frequency of events that are taking place on the beach.
right.
Yes.
Okay.
And looking at them all holistically as a calendar and a schedule and what are we going to do and
Yeah.
how are we addressing it?
I
Thank
mean,
you.
fortunately, while it did occur at the same time as we have students here on spring break, I don't think there was a clash of peoples. I think that the parade happened in the morning, and at noon, I think the kids woke up around 2 in the afternoon,
Right.
and I think that everything just worked out beautifully. I think city staff did an amazing job, thanks to our police officers and firefighters who pitched in and participated in keeping an orderly event. But I just think that it just became a little overwhelming. Yet one more event, and I'm looking forward to that discussion, deciding going forward. I attended a very interesting event at the NSU Art Museum. A very special exhibit took place there, and some major donors who were invited. People came from Beverly Hills, from New York, Chicago, Palm Beach, and Miami. It was a great event. I was asked to give remarks from the mayor's office, and I have to tell you that Bonnie Clearwater put together an amazing program and invited just these amazing people who came all over the country to see this exhibit. It's still going on. I invite everybody to go see it. But what was so important to me was to see the recognition that Fort Lauderdale received for having this exhibit, and it's a rare exhibit, and here we have it in our own community. So these are the kinds of benefits that we get as a community as we support this institution, and my thanks again to Bonnie Clearwater for her amazing efforts in creating such a wonderful cultural expression as we now see at our art museum. I spoke to a group of real estate women. This is the commercial real estate women of Fort Lauderdale and Boca Raton chapter. Talked about commercial real estate, talked about development, talked about opportunities, and it was a great way to interact with the folks that sell Fort Lauderdale. So it was another great opportunity here. Let's see. Well, again, Fort Lauderdale is #1 in creating affordable housing, and we did a recent ribbon cutting on March 21st, which is just 2 days ago. We opened up Point Siena Crossing, which is just south of 17th Street. It's interesting because that was going to be the maintenance facility for the Wave streetcar. And since the Wave streetcar didn't materialize, the city still owned the property, and they built an unbelievable, this is the Atlantic and Pacific Development Company. They built this unbelievable building of, they're calling in now. I want a room. This was a first-class building. The lobby, the public areas were just Class A, and they even had money left over because they came in under budget to build a beautiful art piece out in front, which showed train tracks crisscrossing in a wave action. So it sort of brought back the whole idea of the wave, and with the train tracks, and it was just very, very well done. And my hat's off to the developer and to Tam English for his amazing efforts in bringing affordable housing. Most of the units, there's 113 units, most of the units are 60% AMI or less, and that's truly amazing, right? So, so we're very thankful. We're still trying to work with Atlantic and Pacific. Broadview, of course, is our next target as we continue to have conversations with the county about allowing us to build additional affordable housing. But it doesn't have to be where people shudder when they think affordable housing is coming in their backyard. This is a gem, and any neighborhood would be blessed to have this kind of facility in their community. So last night I went to Shenyang, yes, and at the Broward Center, and gave them a proclamation. And it's an amazing show. I think tonight's the last night, but they come here every year. They've been coming here since their inception, and which is in 2006. And I really, I think it's a great introduction for any community to see the expression of Chinese dance, music, artistry, and we're very happy that they continue to come to Fort Lauderdale. The house was packed, and I was very happy to see the reception that we gave them. So I'm sad to say they've been coming here since 2006, and last night was the first time I saw them, so
Wow.
shame on me. But,
These are from mainland China?
yeah.
Oh, well, I'm just
Actually, the
curious.
principal dancer was from Taipei.
Oh,
So,
okay. I'm
yes,
just
so,
checking.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks. No problem.
Keep your political opinions
Okay,
to
no,
yourself.
no
okay?
problem. Just wondering.
All right. So upcoming events, we got a ribbon cutting for a new business in District 2, Clean Your Dirty Face. And the opening of the Mass District Art Walk on March 25th is Saturday, 6 p.m. I don't know what Clean Your Dirty Face is. Do you know what that kind of business it is?
I did read it, and then I forgot it. I'm sorry, but I did read it.
Okay.
Is that what it is? Like a spa
It's
thing?
a facial spa. Yeah, okay, so I
Yeah,
thought.
okay. I had a feeling. I hope
Okay.
so.
We'll have demonstrations, so you'll look 10 years younger.
Thank you.
And I was really honored to receive an invitation last week. The Greek community celebrates the Greek Independence Day every year, and this year the White House is recognizing it. So I was invited to the White House to participate in the celebration of Greek Independence Day next Wednesday. So I'll be going to Washington for that. I should. I don't have the. I wish I could take the time off, but but it's in good hands with you, Vice Mayor. It's in good hands. So, so in District 2, there's the Florida Department of Transportation is looking for things to do, and they've decided that they want to have some community input on some ideas to try to reroute traffic going east on Sunrise Boulevard and north on Federal Highway, right at the gateway. So they've come up with an idea to do an overpass to try to eliminate the intersections so cars can be more easily facilitated to go who are planning to go in a northerly direction. I personally am against the overpass. I've suggested an underpass. But at March 30th at 5:30 at Holiday Park Community Center, FDOT will be hosting a public forum for people to come out and participate and express their opinions.
Mayor, and I did mention in my report that they were also doing a virtual one this week. If people don't want to go in person.
When is that?
Let me go find, I did mention it. Hold on, I will find
remember,
it.
Now that you say it, I do remember you mentioning that.
Yes, the virtual one, if people don't want to travel to that, is...
Well, travel, it's in Holiday Park.
Well, you know what I mean. It's travel for some people. Tuesday,
5:30.
March 28th.
March 30th, yes.
But Tuesday, March 28th, there is a virtual meeting.
Okay. Where?
Virtual.
Yeah, but where, is it Zoom?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I have been putting that in my district emails, but we have that.
So if people want to participate in the Zoom meeting, they can contact your office to get the Zoom coordinates?
Yes. Or if they're getting our emails, we've had all of that information for a week or so now.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
That same night, I will be attending the annual Gentleman's Dinner at St. Anthony's Catholic Church. This year it'll be at the Hard Rock Casino. And then April 1st, the Imperial Point Spring Fling at Dowdy Mancini Park. And then that evening, I'll be participating with the Diversity Honors Award at the Hard Rock Casino. There will be 22 young people who are Ukrainian and who identify as LGBTQ who will be honored guests at that event. The Diversity Honors Awards is an award ceremony that was started by the Harvey Milk Foundation, and it's held every year in Fort Lauderdale. Couple items I want to present to the commission. First of all, I've been contacted by the folks in Lazy Lake. Yes. Lazy Lake has contacted me to want to begin a conversation about annexation. I think it would be a great thing for us to annex them because they have a tremendous tax base. But as I conferred with our city attorney, there's one obstacle that's not contiguous to Fort Lauderdale. So we would have to do some fancy footwork with the county to and Wilton Manors perhaps to see if we can somehow finagle Lazy Lake to ultimately have some sort of contiguity. I'm sorry, I missed that AP class.
That's okay. Mayor, maybe we can do a tunnel.
Maybe we could do a tunnel.
Okay.
That's right. You're so clever.
Okay. Well, I'm just trying to think outside the box.
Anyway, I hope, I think that it would be a great idea. We'll talk about it at some point, but first we have to figure out how we're going to get around that contiguous issue. And thank you.
Nice.
And I just want to bring it to everyone's attention, though. Now that's the 31st city in Broward County. So if we were able to take it on, that would add up to our population maybe about 50 people.
No. What is the population of Lazy Lake?
I don't know. It's maybe 50. I don't know.
Does anyone know, Mayor?
It's not much.
Okay, no.
I think it was about 40 people.
40 people.
It's not that.
It's not a lot, but they probably have a $30 million tax base.
Really?
Yeah. Easily.
It's 35.
35?
35 people? Seriously?
people.
Wow.
They do their commission meetings in the guy's living room.
They do.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Once a year. Now, one of our residents has come to us, and I believe the vice mayor brought it up at a previous meeting about establishing another advisory board, community advisory board regarding homelessness. I'm not quite sure what the agenda would be or what their mission would be, but I haven't figured out the answers to those questions. Anyone have any thoughts about maybe pursuing what we could do with a homelessness committee? It's been brought to our attention. People have asked about forming it. Vice Mayor, you brought it up on a previous meeting. Did you have any particular thoughts about it?
I think that actually might not be a bad idea. Bring the power of the community out there, the brain trust of our constituents in there to come up with ideas or thoughts.
Anyone else have any thoughts about it? Commissioner Beasley Pittman, your affordable housing continuum of care representative.
Yes, thinking it may be a good opportunity to bring a little bit more light, specific topics and conversations about the homelessness and having maybe even benchmarks to see those numbers. 'Cause I know that there are opportunities where we're trying to capture the number of how many people are homeless in our city. So
Well, the
maybe
the
with
county
the-
does that. The county has that annual count, but certainly it could explore initiatives and
Right.
opportunities that, I'm good with that. We can maybe give it a year and then see how it works and let it sunset after a year if we don't see it's productive. But if it is, we can renew it as a permanent standing committee. Does that make sense to us?
What is a year enough time? 24 months maybe instead of a
You want to
year?
do 24 months?
Yeah, that way you get a whole season, just not one
Right.
opportunity. You can get to
Okay.
see what it does in a 24-month period.
Sure. All right, so Greg, how would we begin that process?
So if you all can give us some idea of the structure, maybe one rep from each of your offices, and then we can do also an expert and, or two experts rather.
2. So that would bring it to 7.
Yeah.
Okay. One per commissioner and 2 experts, 2 outside experts, which would be consensus appointments, right?
I'm going to ask the city attorney on that.
It's your prerogative how you would like to appoint them.
Okay.
Typically, we have,
An odd number.
we do have consensus appointments on other committees as well, but
We do have
we
consensus
do have
appointments on other
consensus
committees, he
on other
said.
committees.
In other words, each commissioner gets 1, and then there'd be 2 consensus appointments, which would be like people who are in the industry.
Or a business owner,
I'm sorry?
maybe a business owner as well.
So that's 8.
Maybe United Way or healthcare,
A
things like that.
business owner and an expert. So you have 7?
Well, I think, yeah, healthcare.
Healthcare,
person.
United Way, maybe some of those things.
Yeah. So maybe those 2 would be the experts, a business owner and someone in health services. But it would have to be more than health services. It had to be addiction treatment kind of stuff.
They can have like social workers, case managers, things like that for me.
Okay, that might make more sense. Okay.
Mayor, I just.
Yes, sir.
2 questions, though. So, and this is to staff. What does it cost us for every one of these that we set up? Because I know this is, having been on the staff side, this is burdensome on staff. It's expensive. Somebody has to take minutes. There's somebody's got to be liaison. So do we have any estimate on what it costs us for every one of these? What are we up to now? Like 43, 44 boards and committees? Yeah. I mean, there is a cost in terms of dollars and staff time associated with this. And then I think as kind of a corollary to that, is this something that we could put under the portfolio of the Affordable Housing Committee? Or does it simply need to stand as its own? So I pose it as a question, not as a criticism. But, is this something that would fit under their umbrella?
I don't know the answer to that.
I like that idea of putting it under the umbrella of affordable housing, because don't we tie those two in together when we had our priorities and our goal setting? Did we?
Well, it's affordable housing and homelessness are not, they overlap, but they're not the same. I've been on the Affordable Housing Committee, and they talk about housing initiatives and not necessarily directed towards homeless, but more affordable housing. Homeless is more involved with treatment and care and employment opportunities and that
Could
kind
it be
of
a
stuff.
committee of their board?
And there's a lot of people homeless that simply are not qualified for affordable housing. Mental illness, drug abuse,
That
criminal-
too.
and the
That
criminal
too.
record. And the
What
issue-
happened to all the initiatives? We used to have committees for that. We used to have people working on that all the time. Didn't we used to have a citizens committee
On what?
dealing with homelessness?
No, not that I know of.
Oh, yeah, I think we did.
The community court initiative that we have,
We have a community court, but that just takes people who have been cited for some kind of trespass or some kind of a city ordinance violation, and they're processed into the court system. But that's not a neighborhood advisory group giving recommendations to the city commission on methodologies to helping homelessness. So that would be kind of different.
it'd be different. I'm thinking about those individuals. I understand we have the opportunity for showers and resources,
Right.
but those that wouldn't be an opportunity to merge.
Right. Well, I mean, the staff coordinates the showers bus or shower van to come here during community court, and it's very popular. But in terms of seeking out opportunities to help homeless people, I don't know if the community court is proactive in that regard. They're just here to process individuals. They're not policy driven. So, well, anyway, let's think it through. See if there's a way, if there's something that we can be accomplished through an advisory board.
So we can come back with potential goals for you all to approve
Okay.
and purpose and mission, and we can take it from there. And we can
Okay.
formulate that board
Which
thereafter.
department would that fall under?
So that's under neighbor support, has two resources that
Yeah.
focus on homeless
Right.
mitigation and homeless support.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure thing.
An issue has come up with regard to docks. Apparently, there are people who own docks and seawalls, and they like to put some kind of decoration on them, like tile or landscaping. Apparently, our ULDRs do not allow this. Does anyone have any thoughts on this? I mean, I don't have a dock or a seawall. I mean, does anyone have any objection to their being decorated? I mean,
To what extent are we talking? Because we had a presentation last meeting
what?
regarding seawalls and adding 3D items to it and trees and making it like natural. What do they mean?
oh,
by-
that was with regard to when we rebuild the seawalls.
It was
to
a
make
living
them-
seawall,
you
living
make
seawall.
a living seawall. This is people that have a seawall and they want to put decorative tile on it, or they want to put landscaping on top of it. I mean, I guess you can always put potted plants on top of it, but the question of decorative tile apparently is not permitted, right, Anthony?
So the way the
You're the
code-
mean one that doesn't want people
Yeah,
to
it's a-
paint their seawalls.
So the way the code's been interpreted by all the zoning administrators up to this point is that the items that are expressly outlined in the ULDR that can be attached are the only items that can be attached. One of the things that Alan from Public Works and I were just talking about is we need to be careful about penetrating the seawall because that can cause damage that's structural. We also have a concern that if too much of it's covered up, you cannot assess the condition properly of the seawall. So especially when it comes to any agreements where we are allowing connections to city seawalls.
Right, but I mean, tile, does that obscure your ability? I mean, if it's cracked on the top, it'll be cracked on the side. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the science of seawalls, but I mean, people can paint their seawalls, I guess, but tile, does that interfere with the ability to determine integrity? Commissioner, what are your thoughts?
Maybe Anthony can work with the Public Art Committee on that. No, I just think you're opening up a whole can of worms here, Mayor. I'm not so sure. I think someone needs to just study it. I don't think we could figure it out right now, but I think people need to have a discussion about it.
All right, I'm just bringing it up for further discussion. All right, talk to your communities.
And that was sort of where I was going with that question about the presentation, because in a sense, the discussion that we had, we weren't sure how it would affect the seawalls, even private docks.
Well, you're right, because some of those options had to be nailed into the seawall, right? And it
Right.
would interfere. So
Right.
Dr. Gassman cautioned us about that because it might interfere with the integrity of the seawall. You're right. But this is like surface topical stuff
Right.
that is more decorative than functional, I guess. Okay, that's it for me. City Manager, tell us about your comings and goings.
All right, yes, thank you, Mayor. So last week, 110 delegates from the Alliance of Greater Fort Lauderdale attended a mission trip in San Diego to learn about affordable housing and economic development, transportation, healthcare, and cultural arts. 4 members from staff attended and learned about best practices, initiatives, and programs that support the city of San Diego. And those initiatives help us understand where we need to be as far as services, and it helps us benchmark to also understand where we can go. We looked at homeless and affordable housing and saw that they are on a crisis mode where they are taking abandoned buildings and redeveloping them with units that are as small as 250 square feet without any parking requirement for transitional housing. And a lot of developers have supported that cause, and that has helped with their population that is in the core of about 8,000 people. So that's what they experience. Just so you get an idea, our point-in-time count puts us between 1,400 to 1,600 people here in Fort Lauderdale. So they certainly have a large-scale situation. And I also staff noted their robust scooter program, which supports transportation and mobility. And they invited us to come out and do a more extensive look at their framework and how they've improved the experience. So those lessons learned are available, and we look forward to visiting the city of San Diego again to see how we could model that framework and bring that here to Fort Lauderdale. In addition to that, we also looked at cultural art programs and economic development programs that support entrepreneurship. So we're excited that we had a chance to visit and also look at bringing forward ideas for you all to consider. And as some of you have mentioned, I will be attending the Washington, D.C. trip for the NLC, leaving on Saturday and returning on Tuesday evening. And I will be naming someone acting in my position and looking forward to, again, bringing value back to the city. So those are my comments.
Great. Anyone have any questions of the city manager with regard to the trip? Well, thank you for going there. I know it was a very busy program that you had to participate in, and San Diego's a great city. I think they have a lot to learn from us. They want to build a tunnel between Tijuana and their downtown. I always thought there already were tunnels, but they want to build. Right. And it's like at like 3 billion a mile or something crazy. Yeah. So we can do it for a lot less. Anyway, all right. Mr. City Attorney, do you have a report?
I don't have a report, but I do want to seek clarification from the City Commission with regards to the intra-Miami mediation process, specifically who it is that the City Commission desires to represent the city in that process.
Well, according to Commissioner Herbst, we may not even have to get that far. He earlier indicated that he's got to a point where he thinks that the negotiations that he has had may have brought it to a point where we may have agreement.
So I'm just confused. Commissioner
that's-
Herbst, can you just explain this? Because I thought when we had our last meeting, you said you weren't going to meet with them anymore because we were going to go to mediation. So that's changed now.
So they
So
reached,
where are we?
they reached out to me and were desirous of trying to conclude something before we went into mediation, at which point I said, well, we've got a very short window of time to do that because city attorney was going to be putting together a list of potential mediators and sending it off to them. And I said, obviously, once we get to the point where we've selected a mediator, all other conversations need to come to a halt. And so I've met with one of the representatives.
Can you
and
tell us who you met with?
Daniel Leon.
And what's his position?
He works with Mastec. He works directly for Jorge Mas.
Okay.
So, and he's been authorized to negotiate by Jorge, and so we've had several conversations. We've discussed several ideas about how we might be able to bridge the gap between what they're asking for and where we are. And I think we're making good progress. Where, in fact, I've got a message that I've gotten from him that I need to follow back up on, and just sort of confirming the points of the discussion that we've reached so far. And if that's amenable to both sides, we may not have to go through the mediation process, and we can avoid that. Yeah, my preference is always for a negotiated settlement rather than, a mediation or litigation. I think we're better when we can work in a collaborative fashion to come to a solution that's amenable to both parties.
And I think your point is well taken. So before you finish your sentence, why don't we bring that up at the next meeting?
Okay.
Okay, because
I think that'd give us the time we
Yeah.
need to either reach a conclusion on it, or
Okay.
if not, we can certainly move forward with the
Okay.
aforementioned process.
all right, great.
So did we take any formal action on that or not? I can't remember.
No, it was just a direction at a conference meeting.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
No, I
Any, does the commission have any further business of the commission?
Oh, one last thing, Mayor,
Yes,
just
sir.
letting you know that we applied for earmark funding and looking forward to see how those projects are going to be considered
Where, at the federal level or at the state?
at the federal level.
Yeah,
So looking forward to that.
okay. All right. Meeting concluded. See you at 6 o'clock.
CRA.
Oh, you're right.
And we have a closed door as well.
Sorry. Well, you said you were hungry. I was just
I am
trying to help
hungry,
you.
thank
Okay. All right, so the CRA board is now in session. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Herbst,
Commissioner Herbst.
Commissioner Glassman,
Here.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman,
Here.
Vice Chair Sturman,
Here.
Chair Trentalis.
Yes, here. So moving on to M1, motion approving minutes for March 8th, 2023, Community Redevelopment Agency Board meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve those
So
minutes?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Vice Chair Sturman,
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst. Yes. Commissioner Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman,
Yes.
Chair Trentalis.
Yes, M1's now approved. M2, motion accepting the Fort Lauderdale Community Redevelopment Agency annual report and audit and authorization to transmit to the taxing districts. Someone like to move the item?
Moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions? Please call the roll.
Vice Chair Sturman,
Yes.
Commissioner Herbst, Commissioner Glassman,
Yes.
Commissioner Beasley Pittman,
Yes.
Chair Trentalis.
Yes, and M2 is now approved. Is there any further business of the CRA? There being none, that meeting is concluded. We now have a closed door, but let's take a 5-minute break, and we'll have our closed door session.
Well, how long is the closed door going to be?
About 15 minutes.
You want to just knock it out?
You want to knock it out
Yeah,
now?
knock it out. We go, yeah.
Okay, all right. All right, let's just knock it out now. Okay, please clear the room.